Oh. Oh, okay. So we weren't recording.
Wanted to let it simmer a bit.
Matt wanted to have it simmer down a bit, eh? Okay, yeah, so that's just actually a reminder. We have very sensitive microphones in the room. So even if you're whispering, believe it or not, it picks it up. So when people are rewatching the sessions on our platform, they can hear all your conversations. So
no.
yeah, no, we've been watching a few of you already, like Human Rights Commission, I think, for some of you. But no, just be mindful of that because one, the people watching live as well have a problem hearing once there's a murmur going around. But then rewatching the clips, a few people actually called me this week to say, "Hey, what were you saying at this point?" And I'm trying to remember because usually I stat lib stuff, and I try to help as much as I can. But just let's keep the noise down as much as we can. Today we'll try to get out of here within 2 hours. That's my mission today for you. I've condensed a little bit of the content today for you to do that. The progress a lot of you are making is fantastic. I've been chatting with most of you, and the feedback has been great. You're out there doing your work. I think we have a few challengers in our midst that are going to challenge for this CMA contest that's happening. So don't forget about that. That contest is ongoing, and you guys are right now involved and active in building your business. What better time to really embrace that challenge in that contest than perhaps be one of the lucky winners to go down to Dallas with Chris and whoever else wins. So, and if not, the payout, the bonus is you're building your database and you're building, potentially a pipeline of business that's going to provide you with a nice payday for you, and that's never a bad thing, right? And so I wanted to just comment at a high level though on the economy right now. It looks like things are slowly starting to pivot here. It's not by any stretch of the imaginations gangbusters, but I don't know about you, but the amount of optimism that I've been witnessing this past week is great, right? And yeah, you guys are saying that. I hope at the home audience you're feeling the same thing. And this will just lead into the next Bank of Canada rate announcement, because I believe everything right now is rate driven. Right? That is the thing that everybody has on top of their mind. It's front and center. And with this half a point drop, a lot of those homeowners, as I said last week, thought, maybe I could stay in my house. And we're starting to see, as we kind of predicted last week, that some homeowners are taking their properties off the market. And so as that continues and then that unwinds all this inventory, we'll put ourselves into a more balanced market as we think is going to happen. And what you're doing now, preparing yourself right now, engaging in all these proactive lead generation activities, you're going to be the ones that are the beneficiaries, basically, of when the market does kind of pivot and when everybody finds out about what's really happening. Because quite frankly, right now, unless you're deep in the trenches of our business, which our company is, and you guys are, you are not sensing what's really happening. So think about most Canadians right now are oblivious to the fact that there's a bit of a warming up effect right now, a thawing of what's been happening. And that's a good thing. You guys, as I said, will be the beneficiaries when this thing does turn around and create a more healthy market. We're still seeing probably 65, 66, 67,000 sales per trip by the year end, which puts us at similar numbers as last year, and way behind what the last 10-year average would be, around 85, 90,000 sales. So and you double that number, of course, because there's two ends to the transaction, right? So you guys will be right front and center when this thing does go. You'll already be on your way. Like, you're going to be on the freeway when these people are on the dirt roads. So today we're talking about what are we talking about today, Matt? Again,
Listing presentation.
Right? What was the joke I said to you guys in the first class about retired realtors?
Become listless.
They become listless. They become listless, right? I have another listing joke for you. It's not a joke. It's actually a maxim or a principle. List to last. And look in your book. Where's your book? Just put underneath that, list to last. Big words. Listings are the name of the game. And as I said in class 1 to you, your listings are your inventory. It's what the consumer comes into your store to look at. And if you have bare shelves, they have nothing to look at, they go look at somebody else's store and shop at that store. So list to last is the name of the game. Build yourself to a business model where you're doing 70%, 80% of your business by listings and the rest by buyers. And I was saying kick buyers to the curb because of course we spent 3 hours last week with the buyers. I say not to do that. You want to outsource, maybe to build a team and have somebody else doing that kind of work for you, right? Because the only thing that neither of us have anything different is our time. We all have the same amount of time in the day. Now, some of us will work, 10 hours in a working day or 12 hours or six, whatever, that's your choice, but we still are only committed to 24 hours. And if you're working with buyers, I think I shared with you in the first class, you're working 4 to 5 times the time to satisfy a sale with the buyer. So get your business going to a level where 70% of that revenue that you're focused on, that you as the generator of the business is doing the listing side, maybe even 80% and outsource to a team, or you partner up with somebody, or you figure that out, but because your time is not going to be best utilized working with the buyers over time, right? So list to last. First question the second question I asked, I have a question already. Second question, if we're doing listing presentations, when do you think the listing presentation actually starts?
From the day for the first contact to make the sale.
Agreed. So hear that. So from the first contact you have with the potential seller, that's when your listing presentation actually starts. It doesn't start when you walk in the front door into their reception lobby area entranceway. No, it starts right on the first contact. Would you all agree with that now? Perfect. So we're on the phone. Let's say we're on the phone. That's probably the most common place you're going to engage with them. Or it could be a person, you could be at the grocery store and bump into, Jane down the street from where you live and you have this conversation. And inevitably in those conversations, very big questions arise before you've actually done any of your preparation, right? Before you've done any of your research analysis. Would you agree with that? I wrote on the board 2 questions that are always asked, I think, by anybody, right? Would you, if you've been doing listings, would you have experienced either of those questions right now?
Yes.
Okay, so first question, what do you charge for your commission? And of course, they use the word commission. What do we say fee, right? So they say, what do you charge for your commission? Or the other question is, what is my home worth? Let's put ourselves in the grocery aisle at Costco. We're checking out and you run into that neighbor, knows you're a real estate. Why? Because you've been keeping in contact with them. They're in your database, right? They're maybe classify them as a B, but now they're talking to you, and this is really exciting because I can move them out to an A or an A plus because I can do business with them. And you start chatting, and you're like, well, it looks like the market might be changing with these interest rates and things, and I'm thinking of selling my house. What do you charge for your fee? Now you're in the grocery aisle. How are you going to handle that question?
Let's have an appointment, let's sit down and talk about it. I don't want to talk about it in the middle of the grocery stuff.
Okay, so I love his strategy of moving it out of the grocery store aisle, talking about it. The language and the words we're going to use, though, we want to kind of make them a little bit more rounded, not as blunt. But I agree 100% with you. Let's not negotiate our fee on the grocery line or sitting in our office on the telephone, or we're driving home on our car and it's on Bluetooth and you're negotiating your fee before any work's been done, right? The same for, pick on you. What's my home worth?
There are a lot of factors that to determine the value of the home, so we can't really do it just by talking. We gotta sit down and see the house, see the what you need, what you have, what you're offering. Sorry, it's
Love it.
the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah, no, I'm putting you on the spot, but you might be put on the spot. Yeah. Any one of us, right? And so better to be prepared with something to say that is basically like your heart's beating. I don't have to tell my heart to beat, right? Like, so you're coming out with something, right? Yeah.
I would be happy to answer that question for you. When can I see you?
Good, I like it, yeah.
Are you selling?
Are you selling? That's a tie down question. That's like one of those ones, right? That's like, hey, come on. Thought of it.
Gee, I don't know. I'd have to see.
He's been in my class already. You guys are not allowed to do this stuff, okay?
Actually watched the Floyd Wickman.
Oh,
Yesterday,
okay.
that's why I got it.
this is not even a real word. It's a Floyd Wickman word. Gee. I don't know. Now it's tonality. Remember I said that word last week, tonality. It's the way you say it. So you gotta practice and how you deliver that. Gee, I don't know, right? So what's your homework? Gee, I don't know. What's your charge for your commission? Gee, I don't know. All right, so it's disarming right away because they're coming at you with this very powerful question and they want to get you off guard so that you'll say, oh, yeah, it's 3% or 4%, right? They want to get you committed before you've been wined and dined, before you've courted each other at all, right? So let's like get married right now on the spot with a fee before we do any courting. Who does that? I didn't, you know? Gee, I don't know. I would have to
Look at you.
Okay, yeah.
you can say, look, I always used to say the word see, you're home
In person.
first. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
Gee, I don't know. Gee, I don't know. I would have to see your home first. Then we kick them with the alternative choice close. When would be a good time to meet? Would 6 o'clock tonight or 5 o'clock tomorrow work better, right? So now I'm standing in the Costco aisle. I've met somebody that's interested. They hit me with one of those questions. And I guarantee you one of those questions is going to be asked, like you're going to socialize, build a little rapport, and how's little Johnny doing? Oh, little Johnny got 2 goals last night in hockey, whatever. You're going to do that. But I can guarantee you they're going to hit you with one of those kind of questions, okay? So gee, I don't know. I would have to see your home first. When would be a good time? Then you hit them with the alternative close. The next one. What is my home worth? What's my home worth?
I will come see and then I can guess.
We're gonna practice gee, I don't know first. I want you guys to burn it into your brain.
Yeah.
This is the best one ever. Okay, what's your home worth?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So like, when I come to see you, then I can see the market and your home, then I can suggest.
When would be?
Oh,
No, we could
what
have-
is the good time I can come to see?
When would be a good time we could come to meet, right? Would 6 o'clock or
7 o'clock. Then
whatever,
visit for you.
figure it out. So what you're doing to yourself though, is you're preparing a response to a typical question that you're gonna get in any kind of situation. And yes,
Sorry, continue that, but then something from home.
go ahead.
So they're just wondering all around, they're wondering if saying you don't know, doesn't that make it sound a little bit unprofessional and you don't kind of know what you're doing?
Good question, or good kind of comment, excellent comment. This is what I'd say to you. If you're thinking like that, think like a doctor, right? Always refer to another profession. So it's kind of like I want to book an appointment with my doctor, but I'm going to tell my doctor upfront what I've got without my doctor getting to meet with me and diagnosing me properly, right? So you can add that kind of language in these dialogues too. Gee, I don't know. I'd have to see your home. It's like your doctor, right? You wouldn't call your doctor up and tell him to prescribe you X, Y, Z. He would have to meet with you. She would have to meet with you. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Right? So now if you're worried about that's what this kind of leads you to, well, then just add to the dialogue so that you satisfy your kind of issue with it, right? Yeah.
Question. Instead of saying, gee, I don't know, can you say something like, there are many factors that affect the worth of a house. I would have to see your house first in order, and I'll do some research, and then we can discuss how much it actually worth.
I think those are all excellent statements, but I think your first one to come back with to lighten it is, gee, it's like, gee, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? It's tonality and delivery, tonality and delivery. Gee, I don't know. Now I just brushed you off. Like now you've shut down. But I go, gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house. When would be a good time to meet? Would tonight at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock tomorrow work better? Right? Delivery, tonality. Just never forget that. Okay. We're gonna go to number 2 later. Yes.
I got a question with, in regards to the first one, the fee.
Yes.
Do we, is the best thing is to just brush it off out of the place or kind of build it to reach the number that you want to reach?
Right. So I always wanted the commission discussion, the fee discussion to occur when in my relationship and presentation with people. When do you think I wanted it?
At the end?
At the very end. Never at the aisle in Costco or on the phone or in my car talking to them. Never when I first walk in the door. Never in the first 15, 20 minutes of the conversation. Always at the end. Why do you think it's at the end?
Because you want to tell them what you can offer first and see if it's worth what I'm asking.
Exactly, right? It's kind of like me letting them test drive me. If you're going to buy a car, right, you're maybe prepared to buy it 50%, right? You're on the fence, but you do the test drive, and maybe that's the thing that closes the deal for you. Well, for me, if I don't sit down and describe and go through my program, and you're going to see near the end of this session how I dealt with the fee structure system and how I basically was able to pinpoint and nail down every seller the way I wanted to. And it's a program that I created myself, and I do have a lot of the realtors here now using it, which is great. And because of the way I was doing my business as well, it's in the minor sport community, so everybody knows everybody, everybody talks to everybody, you know, they see each other in the baseball diamonds, hockey arenas. And for me, the worst thing that I wanted to have happen was, you know, Indy, because Indy's like my brother from another mother, you know, I gave him like 3.5%, right? But John there, you know, that guy John, I charged him 5%, right? And Donovan, I charged him 6%. Well, they may never have a conversation with each other about working with me, or they may. And in my case, a lot of them did, because we were, you know, kids on the same hockey team, kids in the same baseball team, in the same environment. And oftentimes, you know, they're going to be in an arena or a baseball diamond without me around. And maybe John and Indy and Donovan start talking, you know, over a beer or two, some chicken wings. And all of a sudden they find out, because Indy brags, he goes, oh, Mike gave me 3.5%. John's like, what? 5%. And then John was like, it was 6. That jerk, right? All of a sudden, you know, Indy's happy. Indy's going to refer me to everybody because, you know, I did such a great, you know, commission reduction for him. But the other two are now hot, and they're like cursing me. You know, they put my picture up on the dartboard and started shooting darts at me, right? I have a system, you're going to see at the end how I alleviated and prevented that. And how it came about, quite frankly, is exactly that scenario. Exactly that scenario where, you know, you are offering different fee models to people and they find out about it, right? And so you lose the credibility, I think, right? Yeah.
So can we say, this is not the right place to talk about this? When can we, or when is the best time for you to sit down and discuss all the different models of?
I think you just lighten the temperature in the room. Gee, I don't know. I have to see your house first. When would be a good time, right? So you're taking that temperature down, you're shifting it over to let's go and meet at your home. And if you feel like you need to add to that, like the person at home said, well, listen, it'd be just like your doctor. You're not going to establish everything over the phone call with your doctor. You got to go visit your doctor.
What I meant was, would you add that last statement you said that there are different models of fees?
No, no, they don't see
None of that, right?
No, they don't see that, right? Because I have to build the value up. Because you'll see in my model all the value. Well, it's just a snapshot. Like there's literally hundreds of things that we're going to be talking about in a listing presentation. Yeah.
Race at home has already experienced this too. All of her clients are all referral based.
Yeah.
If she discounts one, it's going to snowball, and she's going to have to
Correct.
discount everyone after that.
Correct.
and clients she's already done, 3 deals with no discount, because if you do it once, they're gonna
Correct.
expect the same thing after that.
How does Walmart become Tiffany's?
Raise their price.
Can they become Tiffany's?
No,
Why?
But just the business model.
They've already established what they are, what they provide.
and different product.
Can Hyundai become, no slight any Hyundai drivers in the audience. Can Hyundai drivers become Rolls-Royce cars? No. Because they've already established what they are, right? So if you establish, by the way, what you are, and it's a discount fee model system for listing, and I said list to last, like this is, if you're gonna be in this business for 10, 15, 20 years, you start now establishing what your business looks like, the value of your business. Because if you don't value your business and you're willing to, give away 20, 40, 60% of your income. So let's say, this is for argument's sake, say 5%, traditional, whatever, right? If you list a house for 3.5% and you are providing 2.5% to the cooperating broker and you're receiving 1%, you have discounted your fee by 60%. You've given away 60% of your income, usually standing in line or over the phone before you even seen the house. How do you know that the homeowner has an unrealistic expectation for the sale price? The house is worth 800, but they want $1 million. And they want you to do it for a 60% haircut of your fee. Do you want to take that listing?
No.
Shouldn't, right? Remember I talked about the A, B, C's, and D's? That sounds like a D to me,
It's a deal.
right? Kind of. Anyways, these are some type, yeah, your hand up, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I walk around a lot, and you see a lot of sellers who are asking for discounts. And this team, and they were established, give me discount. And then when I'm asking, what are they offering you to do? I said, they're gonna just stage with my staff. But when I'm explaining my commissions, it's also at the end of the presentations. But you have to be willing as well to spend the money. Because if you wanna establish 5% for yourself, it's like I bring painters and they paint. I bring stagers, partially of myself. I already bought some stuff and bring it, but partially you have to spend the money, even if it's 6,000, 7,000, and you know that you can close a deal and have client at 5%, and then you're receiving less, but people will talk that you do so much and you spend and you're willing to spend for people, but you're at 5%. And at some point, I had a client that did so much, and then they changed from 5% to 6% for me because I did so much for them. But I took care of dumper and garbage, everything. I brought people and they were satisfied with the price. They sold for more than they wanted, but you need to be willing to spend.
You have to have structured your business so efficiently to be able to offer that type of level of service. And when people see that that's the level of service you're offering, 5% versus 3.5 or 4% is a no-brainer, right? Because that's value, that's true value. And with the seniors or elderly that are downsizing from these bigger homes, one of the biggest value adds now, you said you bring the dump thing, right? A lot of these homes are, they got so much stuff and they go into the garbage bin, right? And or setting them up and helping them with an auction type of company. So there's all kinds of now downsizing auction companies where you can have them come in and auction, maybe get a little bit of money for the homeowner, right? Otherwise it was going to go into the landfill somewhere. But these are things that you have to put together on paper and show that you're actually doing it, not saying it and doing it, actually doing it, right? Because there's this thing called the say-do gap in business. I say things and do things. The shorter the gap, the better you are, right? If I say it and I do it, there's no gap. But people that say things but never do it, and that gap gets wider and wider and wider. And then they want to cancel a listing with you. They want to suspend a listing with you. They tell their friends, family, and neighbors, you're not delivering on what you said you would do. So, building that business that you've got, and we have so many of our realtors that have that, you should be talking to them to see what that looks like in their business, because you've made a financial investment to do that. again, you know, all the real only investment that we do here in real estate is our licensing and our insurance fees and things like that. We're not leasing space. You don't have to go buy, if you're running a pizza store, a big oven and a counter and a cash register, like all these things that real businesses operate with and expenses, CapEx, you don't have them. But doing what you do, building in a inventory of staging stuff, and like we have an agent here that has her own facility of staging stuff, and it's a full warehouse with the racks, like 3, 4, like it's a warehouse full of equipment. And it's all got QR codes or like USB codes or whatever they call them, like, you know, at the grocery store, those scanning codes, they're all scanned into an inventory program that she has. So she knows exactly where these things are at any given time. So when she goes to compete with a listing and asks for 5%, and you're asking for 5%, and she shows you her warehouse, or maybe she even takes you down to her warehouse, into her, she's got a little front office space. By the way, it's Marnie Peterson, if you ever want to look and ask Marnie. I'm sure she'd invite you over to her place. She's over on Ridgeway Drive. It's phenomenal. Tell me a homeowner that would say no to her, but yes to you if you have none of that for 5%. It might say yes to your 3.5, because you're not building all of that she's got there, right? And that has been an investment in her business. It's phenomenal. Marnie Peterson, you've probably seen her. Yeah, you can pick her out. Yeah.
In regards to family discounts, would it be
I
a
don't
good
work
thing?
in family.
I know, but the biggest problem with real estate is family discounts because they all expect discounts. So the issue is, would you establish a certain level of percentage? Like my fee is this, but because you're my brother, there's a cash back for you at the end of the day. Is that a feasible way?
I don't sell it to family.
Well, there's a
So you're gonna have to
You're gonna have to.
No, I don't. You're gonna have to figure that out. I referred all my stuff out to other realtors that were family.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had one bad experience. I told you, my brother, we were on vacation in Florida and he went and bought a property. I didn't talk to him for a long time. I don't know if I added this part of the story, but I went down to Florida on vacation because I was involved in a car accident. I got hit from behind going to show him properties. He wasn't in my car. I was by myself. And I was going to meet him at a property, and I got hit by a shuttle bus. I was at an intersection, and this thing hit my brand new car, like 2 months old, right through the intersection. I got whiplash, my back was sore. So I went to Florida with my wife, and I was with my wife at the time, but went down to Florida to see her sister who lives in Miami, to enjoy the nice warm weather, because this happened in the wintertime too, right? And when I came back from that vacation, he bought something. So I don't deal with family.
Good for you.
What's that?
Good for you.
I guess it's personal. It's a little different for me. I'd rather lose the money and help a brother than.
That's your choice. That's for compassionate reasons, I would call it. Right.
Does he
Yes.
know?
Pardon me?
Does he know? Does he feel sorry?
Of course he does. When you don't talk to your brother for years. It wasn't years. My mom made me talk to him. Yeah, Matt.
Well, someone says, if you refer out your family for a referral fee, that referral fee might be pretty much what you get because you're gonna be discounting yourself so much and you're saving all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And think about it, you know, I don't believe doctors are allowed to be a doctor to family, right? I think there's a requirement for them to have a barrier there. And I think even lawyers are not allowed to represent family, right? So we are, but listen, if something goes wrong, it's going to be your fault no matter what. No matter what.
That is the point.
That's true.
Money doesn't matter at that time because you give that favor to that person, but end of the day, if anything happens, it's blame on you. You didn't take care of that thing very well, so that just happened with me. And nobody will consider what's with the money you left with that people. So the fault is yours. If things are good, no, it's not yours.
You take all the blame, but no payout.
If you have a brother, you're used to it. You lived your whole life being blamed that it's your fault.
You will
Even-
have that experience.
Even if you refer to someone and that agent messed the deal up, it's still gonna blame you.
That's
You're the
right.
person.
I think
You should have known better. How come you didn't read his mind? Like literally, you are going to be at fault. And I tell you, it makes for uncomfortable holiday get-togethers and all kinds of other stuff that, you know, when you have nieces like I do, you know. I never take it out of
They
them,
get to you all the time.
right? No, my brother's kids, right? Like,
Enjoy
wanna
the
see that.
family rather than the business.
exactly, yes.
A bit of a switch of the topic of the family, but if someone asks you, what do you charge for your commission? And you try to change the topic or say, oh, we'll talk about it later, and they go, oh, just tell me, like, what did you charge the last person? Or like, what's your normal rate?
When
Or,
is
like,
this
why do you need to
conversation
see-
happening?
I guess at the same time, when they first ask the question, before there's any presentation or anything,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to get information, and
Yeah, I can tell how eager you are to find out exactly what the fee that I would assess to you would be. But listen, if we're really gonna sit down and think about how we plan to sell your property, we need to take that off the plate right now and let's see what time would be a good time for me to come over, because right now, I just don't know what my fee would be. So when would be a good time to
so
meet?
if they ask like, oh, does your fee fluctuate depending on the home? Would you be like, yes? Or do you say no, depends on the project, or is it right across the board? Like,
Yeah.
what's your
Yeah.
answer for
There's a
that?
lot of variables that we have to sit down and diagnose, right?
Got
And
it.
so I'm gonna, and this is still dialogue, right? Like,
Alright.
think of your doctor. When you go to visit your doctor, you're visiting him, right? He hasn't told you what the diagnosis is yet over the phone when you book the appointment. In fact, you haven't even talked to your doctor, you talked to his staff. They booked the appointment. Now you're sitting with your doctor. Is your doctor asking you a lot of questions, trying to narrow down some things? Yeah, before he actually says, okay, I think you got sniffles, right? Or, okay, I think you got X, Y, Z.
Right.
That's exactly what I have to do as a professional. Now, there's 75,000 realtors in our marketplace. Granted, I know a lot of them don't do that, but that's not how I operate. I operate with a system professionally. Why? Because I want the positive outcome for my people at the end of the day. I'd rather not, make a mistake here right now and say something about value, about the marketplace, about your neighborhood, without actually doing the research first. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 And by the way, does that make sense is a close?
Yeah.
Okay, that is one of my favorite lines. Does that make sense? Hang on, Matt's got a question.
Racing Home says she likes to remove herself from the equation, and she was wondering what you think about saying something like, my brokerage charges the standard 5%, and here's why.
Okay, so never, ever, ever use the word standard. That will put you in RICO jail.
Yeah.
There is no standard commissions, okay? They're always negotiable,
Negotiable.
never standard. But if you want to blame the brokerage, figure out another way, go at it. But not a problem. Our brokerage is modeled because we're a full service brokerage with graphic design teams, with video teams, with full support staff, with offer departments, MLS departments, accounting departments. You add. Some companies don't have those things. Most don't have those things. Most have basics. And because we have all those things at our brokerage and the best managers ever.
Instructors too.
All right,
I have a question.
I'm not done my dialogue.
Earlier,
Our brokerage fee is 5%, right? So you have to close it down with why, because you've established, I'm doing all this work for you, your value, your personal system that's supported and backed up with a brokerage that has the resources that no other brokerage has. Why are they not paying 5% for the Ferrari, for the Rolls Royce, right? Yeah.
you mentioned earlier about referral. How does that work? Because what if they follow up with that? Let's say
Referral for what?
or for like a listing that you're not gonna take.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, if it's your brother or something like that. Like, let's say a client that you know is like a difficult client, but you still want to help them and still want to get this out. How does that referral fee work?
you would enter into a referral agreement with whoever it is that you're working with.
Yeah.
Or that you're referring to.
Yeah.
And it would be on paper. And of course, if you want to be, hovering around, you can, but you can't get involved in any of the fiduciary, duties of the other brokerage, right? Like you'd be interfering at that point. But of course, if you want to be, a support network for that person, by all means, right?
But what is the fee that you would get?
Oh, the fee, like the number.
Yeah,
I've seen 25%, 30%, 35%.
of the overall 5%?
No, of the portion that you're dealing with, right? So if it's a listing referral
Yeah,
and it's, well, a listing or buying, let's just assume it's 2.5%.
okay,
It would be 25% of the 2.5. Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Yes, Don.
For Niagara, Hamilton is standard, not standard, but people go 2%. So
Yeah.
is it, can we do 2.5 or 6% in total, or is that actually like a guideline?
And there's no guidelines, there's no standards, everything is up for negotiation. Now, in those marketplaces that have fees that are not, similar to what we have here in Toronto, before you prepare an offer, you're able to negotiate, if you can, a fee, right? Because if you're on the buying side, so if you're the selling and I'm the buying, and on your MLS it says 2%, and as the buyer representative for my buyer, what do I have in place with my buyer? I have a BRA, right? So I have a buyer representation agreement. And if you have a buyer representation agreement, please don't not fill out the actual stuff, right? I see a lot of times the fee part is left blank, right? Like you don't have anything in there. Or you put in, that's almost as bad as having nothing, you put in as per MLS. Don't ever do that. Put in what you want to get paid. If you want to get paid 2.5%, put in 2.5%. If you want to get paid 3%, put in 3%. Then it becomes your choice as the buyer representative. When you go, Donovan's listing, he's at 2 and I'm at 2.5. So what I can do is I can call Donovan and say, hey, listen, Donovan, it looks like there's some interest on my buyer's part. We're thinking about that, but my buyer has a buyer representation agreement with me and it's at 2.5% and you're offering 2%. My buyer's not willing or able to compensate me the extra 0.5%. So I'm reaching out to see whether or not your seller would be open to compensating me that extra 0.5%. It could pose a problem or a challenge for us to be able to come with an offer. Because you're having that conversation with your buyer, right? Like to say, listen, we do have 2.5, but they're offering 2. Are you able to bridge the gap, right? Or you may not want to. You may just say, take what you get. Most people do that. They don't want the friction, right? But if you do the process properly and you want to try, that's the method how you do it. Buyer says, no, I can't give you the extra 0.5% because everything is tied up with my deposit and my down payment, which makes sense. I got to pay my lawyers, blah, blah, blah. So great. Is it okay then if I reach out to the listing? Yeah, for sure. If you can, fantastic. I do that before I sign an offer. So I'm not using the offer as leverage. That's the key. That is a major violation of professional standards. And in any arbitration claim, you would lose on that because you use the offer to negotiate, upscale your fee. If you do it before, the way I just described it, and they say yes, get it in writing. Get it in writing. The text or an email is fine, that they're willing to pay 2.5%.
Or you just put in the confirmation of co-op, right?
You can, but if there's no written acknowledgement of that before, because the confirmation, they could say, oh no, he sent the offer in like that. And it does happen. People do lie. People do. Yep. No, I didn't have that conversation with Donovan. What are you talking about? Right? People do that stuff, sadly. Always put it in writing. And yes, put it in your confirmation of cooperation, 2.5%. And you can put in the remarks there as per agreement on whatever, prior to submission of offer, right? I saw another hand somewhere, yes.
Even if we do not have a text or an email, because they are signing the confirmation of work, that is an agreement.
That's not enough. That's not an agreement. Confirmation of cooperation, people, is not an agreement.
It's a confirmation of an agreement.
The agreement is the agreement of purchase and sale. By the way, the confirmation of cooperation has to be sent separate from the agreement. And by the way, do never do this, please. Never bulk alter your documents together. So listen, I was being generous because, Donovan was so hard to get on my buyer. He just refused. No matter what, I couldn't get him committed on a buyer rep. So out of the goodness of my heart, and I trusted Donovan, I showed him all kinds of properties without having my buyer rep. And then we found the dream house, and he's loyal to me. He's going to work with me. And so what do? I sent him all in one email through DocuSign, the buyer representation agreement, the confirmation of cooperation, and the agreement of purchase and sale. You are going to get smoked if anybody complains.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
From Rico?
Oh, yeah. If there's a complaint lodged, Donovan, to me, I didn't understand what I was signing. I didn't know what I was signing. Is you put all three things in together, you're defenseless. Yes, it says at the earliest practical opportunity, but before an offer is submitted for your buyer agency agreement. But come on, I've been showing them stuff. And let's go back to last week when I taught you the buyer stuff. What did we do last week? We CETO'd. What does CETO stand for again? CETO. And you saw my package, my system. We had the whole meeting agenda. I show you the offer. I show you the buyer agency. We go through all that stuff. Why are you not getting them signed up right then and there? But if you put it all together in one, you're going to lose a lawsuit. So I deal with a lot of that stuff at the brokerage, right? And trust me, in a civil case and in a RICO environment, you are not going to fare well, having everything bundled and baked together. Somebody had a question on.
More of a comment. Ray said how she likes to kind of put the decision on her client who are dealing with listings that are paying less than 2.5%.
Sure.
By adding 2.5% into her documentation, saying to warning her client that if they want to see a property listing less than 2.5%, they're going to have to come up with the difference afterwards.
Sure.
And the client usually says, "Don't even show me that one. I don't want to pay extra."
Get that in writing, and you're fine. Right? Because what are you doing? You're following the direction of your client. If you're making that decision for your client, again, you're going to be in hot water. You're in trouble. Yeah.
Do you think it's as serious for like a tenant rep agreement for a lease to like, or is, like the buyer one for the 2.5%, you want to separate it from the bulk agreement, but say you're showing someone a property for a lease they might want, do you still do that? Like separate everything all the time? Yeah, okay.
So what they're looking for is, because there's the old adage, I didn't know what I was signing, right? Like Mike sent this to me and I didn't know what I was signing. He didn't explain it to him. In law, it's a Latin term called non est factum, NONESTFACTUM, non est factum. If it can be proved that the person in fact didn't understand what they were signing because you as the professional didn't take the time to describe it, explain it so that they knew what they were signing, that's an out for them. So people think always, I didn't know what I was signing. Oh, too bad, you signed it, right? Like that's usually what people will say back to you. You signed it, that's your signature, yes, but there is a standard test done in court called non est factum. And here's how I get you on that. Who's done a buyer representation agreement? Almost all your hands should go up, right? I would hope, right? We've done it, right? So we all should be in this room familiar with the buyer representation agreement. You've all read it? No. Okay, that's good. It's honest. It's honest. For those of us that have read it, do you understand it? What does clause 4 say in the buyer representation agreement? What? Nobody? Anybody at home know? No, and then they can't be looking. You don't know what clause 4 is in the buyer representation? Huh?
Come the length of the time.
No, no. It's a very important clause. They all are very important clauses. My point to you is this. Non est factum, how are you going to be challenged by a judge or an arbitration person? Because I served arbitration for 8 years. We're going to ask you some questions to find out how much you know about that contract. And so when I was an arbitrator, I used to go, okay, so that's great. So you explained your contract to the buyer, right? Like they understood what they were signing. Oh, yes, they do. Fantastic. Hang on, I'll get to it. That's great. Would you, without looking at the buyer representation agreement, in your own words, please explain to me as if I'm your buyer, the buyer representation agreement?
Oh, yes, maybe, yes, no. So that-
You're gonna get asked that kind of question at an arbitration claim with a smart arbitrator like me, and you're definitely gonna get it asked by a judge. If you're in a civil case fighting a buyer representation agreement where a buyer is not involved with somebody else and you're suing your buyer, believe you me, you're gonna get asked that question by a judge. In your own words, please explain to me as if I was your buyer, the buyer representation agreement. If you cannot do that, guess what? The judge just established non-est factum on you. If you can't explain it to me, how the heck did you explain it to them? Understand what I'm saying? So we're talking, that's money. Like if you're selling the average price of a house in Trev, what is it, 1.1? 2.5% on the buying side, what is that? 25 plus 30, you're 30,000 with HST. And all you gotta know is 3 pages of buyer representation agreement to be able to explain that thing. You don't have to go clause by clause. I asked you clause 4. Clause 4 is a very specific clause, right? And that's why I always would ask that one. And what's that one? That the buyer has to refer to you, me, as the agent that represents them, any properties that meet the criteria that's sitting inside that buyer agency agreement. I want to buy a detached home in Brampton from 1 million to 1.5. I've got the specific type of property, got the location and a price range. Anything that meets those criteria, and you can write in whatever you want as your criteria, just use those as 3. They got to go to you. They got to bring it to your attention. It might have been a for sale by owner that just popped up on the street. They got to call you. Why?
Because you have an agreement.
Pardon me?
Exclusive agreement.
Correct. It's an exclusive agreement. Okay? So you have, if you can't explain that part 4, that's a non-est factum all day long as well. Okay? So just remember, you are dealing with the largest single investment in people's lives. The scales of justice, right? When you go in, they're tilted to the consumer, not to you.
That's the rules, right?
Well, you're the professional. You have a duty of care. We've all heard that, right? It's one of the biggest things that we have. And if you can't explain our own contracts that you're binding them to, and a judge or an arbitrator exposes that, guess what? See you later. You're not getting paid. You had a question.
Yeah. As an agent, aren't you supposed to get the client to sign that they understood everything that you explained to them, whether it's an offer or an agreement or whatever?
So their signature is supposed to validate that. But it's your responsibility. But it's your responsibility to be the one that's communicating those points to them, right? Their signature is, that's why I said earlier, you know, I didn't understand what I was signing. Yeah, but you signed it.
No, but this time it's, I understand the
Well, if you wanna
meaning
add
of
that.
the agreement, and I'm signing that I understand.
If you
It's
wanna
not
add
the
that-
agreement itself.
If you want to add that language, for sure, right? No problem. Matt.
Well, someone at home just pointed out that the wording, the new wording in the RICO information guide says, this has been explained to me by the agent in full and in detail to my understanding. So, and if you don't, that's on you.
Yeah, but the RICO information guy is not the buyer representation agreement. They understand that document. That document, by the way, is before a buyer agency agreement too, right?
Right.
When do we send the RICO guy? In the act, there's 2 very important words that they use. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Before providing any service.
And? Or? Advice. Nope. Assistance.
No assistance.
That's when that guy's got to go. That guy does not have to be signed. Let me say that one more time. The guy does not have to be signed by the person. Has to be sent and explained the moment you're going to provide a service or assistance in real estate. Okay. We want them to sign it, obviously. Okay. It just is better for us. And if they don't sign it, I would follow up with a text or email to say, hi, Indy, just wanted to confirm, you know, you hadn't signed the document. that that I explained the doc, I said, you're doing this, whatever, right? To protect yourself. I am imploring you all here and at home, you got to protect yourself. You got to practice CYA like never before. You know what CYA, cover your
ass.
You have to do this. We're the biggest target.
Yeah.
I was this week, Monday and Tuesday, down in Toronto for RAD days, Realtor Advocacy Days with the politicians, okay? And we had panels of experts talking about our industry. And one of the panels, it was, and I loved what this guy was saying. The audience, just fellow realtors, were a lot of them like gasping, like this guy's a fool, right? I loved what he was saying. And he was saying, what I'm just telling you right now, you gotta up your game just on your paperwork. You gotta up your game so that you take yourself out as being the king and queen of the transaction and put your client in that spot. And this panel member was a journalist, a very famous one. You've definitely heard this guy's name. He's in the newspapers, he's on TV. And he's like, you guys better watch yourselves. Because if you guys don't up your game and change the way you're doing it, the government's gonna step in and change it for you. And I was like, you're so right. So right. There's too many stories of people getting ripped off in this business or taken advantage of.
But you know, Mike,
Yeah.
the industry is going through some changes now and continues to evolve. And a lot of the stuff that we're learning now is new as well. Like things has evolved. Some of these things were always in place. The issue was we weren't using them and it didn't rise to the level where people were being sued.
Right.
Now there's more money on the table, there's more money involved, people are more, you know, things change, things have gotten tighter around the whole industry.
Yeah.
And people are looking to point fingers. And as you just said, we're a soft target.
We're the most soft target out there. And yes, things change and evolve. It's my 30th year, I've told you. When I first started selling real estate, you know, the MLS computer system, there was no pictures. It was like green, old computers. For those of you that are old like me, you remember that. There's no picture. I had a real estate book, like it was a big book, printed book. That got printed every 2 weeks. So the day it was printed, it was already out of date.
No pictures.
But who said dailies?
I did.
Every day we'd get in our office a printout, tear sheets, they called them dailies, and our staff, the first thing they would do was put the pot of coffee on, and they would go to the dailies, they'd tear them off and put them in a book for all of us to see. And that was the dailies, or the hot, we call it the hot sheet, basically, right? Literally, that's how business was done. So has business evolved from 30 years ago when I walked into this business to today?
A little.
At my fingertips at 3 o'clock in the morning, I can go and find any listing I want that's active. I couldn't have done that 30 years ago. I could have done it 20 years ago. I could have done it 10 years ago. Right? There's a lot of money at stake here, and you can damage, you know, for a lifetime people if you do something in error for them, right? And so they will definitely pick you. The lawyers for the buyer or the seller are not on your side. They don't care less. They're making $1,000. You're making $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, right? They're going to put it, even if it was their mistake. I've seen lawyers, yeah, right? No, your lawyer, your realtor, John, should have done this, should have done that. Why didn't he do that? So they put the doubt in the mind of the client on the realtor. Right? I saw a hand over here somewhere.
Yes, I want to ask, like, going back to the previous conversation regarding conversions, and you mentioned if we tell it to a buyer that this is houses for 2% and you have to come up with a difference, and they say to us, don't even show this property.
Yes.
We have this in writing, but down the road, they saw, because everybody has access to the internet, right?
Sure.
And if they find a house, but we bought one property, said, oh, you didn't show me this house, it was with 2%. How does it work with RECO? Can they sue us after?
No, because they've agreed to have that excluded. But listen, to me, I would never be in the business of trying to exclude a property, right? And I would say to my client, you know, look, it's 2% there. our fee here is 2.5%. Are you okay with me attempting to get compensated 2.5% from the other side? Sure, no problem. And I would say to them, like, this is me, right? I would say to them, listen, and if they say no, I'm not gonna ask you for the extra 0.5%. That's how I did that part of the business. So, is that a discounting for me? Is that no, right? And typically those 2% listings, by the way, that you see, they're also offering or asking 10% more than the house is worth for the property, or 5%. Like, they want more than what it's worth, they pay less than they have to pay, right? They're on both extremes.
Some of you have the $250 parking fee as well. You guys see that?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that stuff started about 20 years ago. You want me to pay and help you market? Like, it just never made sense to me.
I'm working out. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
telling agent, I won't make your fees.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly,
I pay my fees, you pay your fees.
Yeah, and I have a big problem with the ones that they're offering, like if they show the property at an open house or something that they want, they want 1% of your fee, like, that better be in writing with your seller too. Like, you can't just put that in there. Like, that's gotta be literally accounted for, because one of your fiduciary responsibilities to your client is a full accounting. If you're not full accounting, that you're clipping 1% off of the buyer's side because they walked in your open house, you're gonna be in trouble, right? We went way off on the tangent. I haven't started the book yet.
Full stop warning.
That's an hour. I haven't even started the book. Okay.
I cured my day.
What's that?
I said I cured my day, no appointments after this. I'm like, all right, let's go 3-4 hours.
We discussed most
No
of the
appointments
stuff.
on
I was
Fridays.
looking at it.
Okay, we just got photo. That's good. I'm gonna go with these very quickly. Closing dialogue. What would it take? So this is just, what would it take, and you fill in the blank, to list with me today, right? So this is near the end of your presentation. What would it take to list with me today? What would it take to start your moving journey today? What would it take? What would it take to start packing? Now that's, the Remax people sometimes use that. Start packing. I like it too. So what would it take to start packing? I'm not advertising it, I'm just verbalizing it. Tie down statements. These are all Floyd Wickman tie down statements. Matt sent you, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? You should have all of these as audio files, right? And there's video files too. These are 10 of his tie down techniques. That would be like, say the seller said, hey, Mike, should I leave the drapes behind? Do I want to get into a debate and argue with my seller about whether they should leave the drapes or not? They're lace this and they're that. No, I would. Right?
I saw the video.
Like, what's that?
The CD.
It's on the video. Yeah, it's on the CDs, right? That's what I'm saying. These are from Floyd Wickman. These are not mine. These are good stuff. But that's it. I would. Mike, should I leave the appliances? I would. And you answer it tonality, right? And delivery. I would. Unless you work for Home Depot or Leon's or The Brick and you want to start selling appliances, so I would. Right? They're 20-year-old appliances. Nobody's gonna want to negotiate for them anyways, right?
It makes the place look better.
Sure, whatever. No problem. We talked about that one last week. No problem, right? They have a big, no problem. And then you solve the problem. Be honest. Now, this has, if you listen to Floyd, he talks about this. Do not say be honest that you think that they're not being honest with you, right? So it's like, now be honest with me. Let me know this, right? Or be honest with me, right? It's not, I'm challenging your honesty. Again, delivery tonality. Fair enough. So that would be where there could be like this interaction between the two of you where there's no resolution. It's fair enough. And that's a transitional way to, fair enough, but let's do this, right? Any questions? You hear me do this all the time when I'm teaching. Any questions, right? Just to clarify, because I may have gone over a topic or a strategy or an idea and it hasn't fully sunk in and you're sitting there going, I don't fully understand what he's saying. That's why I'll say any questions and then that gets you to do that. Let's pretend. The let's pretend is something like, so maybe they're stalling right now and they don't want to sign and they think they've got lots of time, but listen, you told me that you're being relocated and you're taking the new position in LA in 90 days, right? And here we are, November the 1st. Let's count 90 days. You're starting on January 31st, right, of the new year at your new job. So if we were to list your property today, so let's pretend we list it today. These are the steps that we have to take. This is what's happening in the marketplace. It's taking 30 days to sell, 35 days to sell, just to sell your property. And the buyer's gonna wanna close probably in 30, 40, 50, 60 days. So in that, let's pretend what that looks like. When you're moving with your family to California and we list today, we have some very strict timelines to get that done. And we have the holiday season to contend with. So do we really have time to think about that? Let's just pretend about that. So you're getting to imagine the scenario, right? Because they think they have all the time in the world, and it happens on a weekly basis. I'll get a call from one of our realtors, and the seller is now in panic mode because they thought they had all the time in the world to do this, right? They had, they had bought, typically what it is on the sell side, they bought a property, right? They bought somewhere, and, they negotiated a 90, 120 day close, but they bought it back in July. They bought it in August, and they're closing the property and just now thinking about trying to list the property. This happens. It happens. It typically happens when they've bought out of the area, and we've been called in, by the way, to now put out this dumpster fire of trying to get this thing sold, right? So they bought with somebody else somewhere, or they bought pre-con, and now you're the magician. You're David Copperfield, if you know that. Okay. You're gonna solve my problem because I have to have this thing sold and closed in 30 days, right? So that's where you use the let's pretend. Is that a yes? And so, they're stalling about things, small things like, oh, I don't know if I should use leave the drapes, or I don't know. So is that a yes then to go forward? Start packing. Is that a yes? Right? Because it's really not a material objection, right? Should I? Should I leave the drapes? Should I leave the thing? What's the answer to the should I? I would. Right. You sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you sure you want to wait a month before we list the property, knowing you gotta relocate to your new job on January 31st? And isn't it? Isn't it is a tie down? This is a getting them to say
Yes, it is.
right, exactly, to say yes, right? The isn't it, getting them to say yes. Those are the closing balance. Listen to Floyd's stuff that we sent you. This stuff is gold. This stuff cost me a lot of money. You've listened to it, right?
I've listened to it on the car rides, then the audio, you can listen to it on long drives.
Right.
It's really good. I was gonna see, even the chuckle factor is really good too.
Which one?
The chuckle factor, where like.
Oh, the chuckle, yeah.
Yeah, you just wanna chuckle.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Lighten the mood.
Yeah,
Right.
just, because they'll ask you to reduce or whatever, just.
Tonality delivery. This is so, you guys have to start thinking of yourselves as being like actors, right? No, you do. Like, if you want to be Tom Cruise, be Tom Cruise. If you want to be, I don't know, who's a famous woman actor? Julia Roberts, right? You figure out who you want to be, because there is a lot of, it's not acting to deceive, right? It's acting to deliver with the tonality. That's all it is. Okay? I'm gonna leave the second one. I'm gonna leave that actually for next week. I'm not gonna do that one today because we're already an hour into this thing and I haven't even opened up the slides. So can you put the slides up back? Yeah. Is there any other questions? Either? Oh, there is.
It's not a question. I was reading that book, Never Split the Difference.
Oh, yeah, with Moss.
Phenomenal book.
Yeah.
I love it. I've only like that. But I have the same problem, like thinking of ourselves as an actor, and like the conversation becomes fake, right? So that he helped. He said, I encourage you to think of them as extensions of natural human interactions and not artificial conversational text. Like, think of this as something that, normal human interaction.
Organically, it's an organic conversation, right?
Yeah. Because if I start thinking of myself like an actor, like I suddenly detach myself from the human self.
Correct.
So
Yes.
unless that is also attached to it, it doesn't happen.
Right. No, it's absolutely correct. So what an actor does is put life to words that somebody else has written, right? And so they own those words. Well, these are not my words, and they're not your words. So when I use the actor mentality, it's not to say, they're using that to step out of ourselves or deceive anybody. It's to use words that are effective, make them our own for positive outcomes for people, right? It's basically the persuasion, splitting the differences. So Voss was a FBI profiler and negotiator, right? Like this guy, he would do hostage negotiations and he was successful at them. And now he is one of the most preeminent speakers on the speaker circuit. And I've read his book so many times, The Split the Difference.
It's really good.
And split the difference is not the solution, basically. When you read this stuff, like, it's not about, let's meet halfway, let's meet in the middle. Like, that's not what split the difference is about, right? We see that in TV shows, like the American Picker guys and stuff, they'll negotiate. Well, let's split the difference. No, not a negotiations. There's a thing called, we're going to talk about it in our negotiation class and when we do our case study. It's called BATNA, the BATNA, best alternative to a negotiating agreement, best alternative to negotiating agreement. That's what BATNA. He talks about BATNA too in the split the difference stuff, right? So it's not usually just meet in the middle. There's other things that are involved. So we're going to do a case study on BATNA as well. Okay. Yeah. Got me up? You. Okay. Was there any other questions? Oh, it was.
Well, it's not a question, but I just want to try to understand. You know how you said we should respond with "I would"? It's because we haven't signed the listing form to sign them on as a client. So we're really just trying to get them to sign. So don't make it.
Sorry.
So when we say "I would,"
yeah,
we say it before. We say it because we want them to sign with us.
Yeah, so the I would's are low level kind of things that are affecting them. Like, should I leave my appliances behind? Should I leave my electric light
But they haven't
fixture?
signed it.
No, right, exactly. You're at the kitchen table presumably with them and you've gone through your whole presentation. And now you're at the precipice of getting them to be signed, but they've got these little nuisances, I would call them, in their brain. Like, should I leave the light fixture? Should I leave the appliances? Should I leave the drapes? Should I leave whatever? Like,
So after they've signed,
yeah.
to keep our integrity, we should actually leave the blinds.
Oh, yes, you will for sure. Yeah. Of course you are. Yeah.
Even though it's not gonna show well in the pictures, or do you see what I'm
Oh,
saying?
if you're talking about the blinds from the
Yeah.
1960s?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's different. Like, so you're probably gonna, in those cases, we're gonna bring a home stager in as part of my professional service to you. I'm paying for the home stager's consultation with you. Anything beyond that, we can talk about that. If you're doing a 5-6% listing, you may want to cover some of those costs. That's up to you. But the home stager is going to come in here. It's not me saying this is a professional. This is what they do every day. They come in and they look at homes and say, if we do this to your home, we're going to put this home in the best possible light to sell it. And it could be the drapes, right? Could be the shag carpet that's in the house too.
I have a story to share, and kind of maybe I should have said I would, but so this was a referral, and it was a lease listing. Okay, so I drove all the way to Oakville for this. I didn't really want to do it because I don't live in Oakville.
Okay.
There's a lease, but it was someone that told me to go do it, right? And went in, but the house needed cleaning. Like, it was just so, and I kind of pointed it out, and maybe I should have said I would. He eventually did sign the listing lease.
Okay.
Okay, but as I was driving back to Toronto, he says, you know what, Sue, it's too much work. I'm gonna hire everything out. I'm gonna get property management to list it. We're gonna clean it. I wanna do nothing. Do you see? I learned something from that.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have said I would.
So was it a fully furnished unit or something? And you're leaving behind stuff that,
Yeah, he was asking me, should I leave the furniture? He was going to the States and he wants to lease it.
right.
You see how I should have said I would, right?
Most leases would include appliances, right? So that's pretty standard.
And then the cleaning, I should have just, because it's a lease, I should have just been a bit more lax about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna pay for the cleaning on a lease when you're making $500 or $1,000,
Yeah,
right?
so I should have, I think I was just too serious. about it.
Yeah. Listen, this is all about learning, right? This is
Yeah.
about every day learning something new about what to say in a situation, right? So next time you're in that situation, maybe they'll remember the class and it's just a throwaway type of, should I do this? I would.
I would.
Right, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get into the program part. So this starts on page 44. Again, I gotta introduce some statistics for you because I like studies and statistics. This is a study that was looking at sellers, and it was done by the National Association of Realtors. Again, remember I told you they are fantastic in doing studies. And they looked at sellers and when do they list their properties. Do I have to, you want me to get? Can I do that, right? Okay, so the question was, when do sellers sign with the listing realtor? So 66% actually sign with them in the first go. So the first person in is getting 2/3 of the listings. So let that sink in for a second. The first realtor in gets the listing 66% of the time. Okay, 60, right? So I know some of you like to be the second realtor or the third realtor, and that's fine. I'm just saying that if they find or encounter a really sharp realtor, that the likelihood is that 66% of the time they're going to sign with that first person and you're not going to get your appointment. Okay. And 90% interviewed 2, 15% interviewed 3 or more realtors. 63% of this study would use their realtor or recommend them to others, which is lower than the other statistic we saw in the first course that I taught you. And that's because with the seller side, there's so much more involved in servicing to sellers than there is in just the generic working with buyers / sellers. That's a lower number because there's a lot of fails there, right, along the process and the journey. Staying in touch with your seller when you list with them is probably the biggest one, right? The communication piece is not there, okay? The 66% of sellers here that choose to work with the first realtor is an interesting one. And I've taught this kind of dialogue with our realtors. In our last class, actually, remember last course I took or taught this was back in May, I think of this year, April or May. And the day I actually went over this, our realtor in the audience, Anita, right? Modi, right? She was dealing with this. So she went that night to do a listing and she was the first one in. And the seller had booked other appointments. And so the seller, though, was loving everything she was hearing from Anita. Anita's here in our office, like you see, she's almost here every day. And so Anita, luckily had my class that day, said to the seller, because the seller, although they were sold on everything she was saying, and she had built the value up, they had these other appointments and they felt bad and guilty that they had those. And so I'm not prepared to commit right now with you tonight, Anita, until I meet with Matt and Donna. Perfect. So I taught her, I said, well, listen, I understand that. That's a natural feeling. You're very empathetic to feel bad about the other person. And I run across this all the time. This is a dialogue, by the way. I run across this all the time. And here's one of the services I offer to my clients is I'll actually call that realtor for you. I'll call Matt and I'll call Donovan and let them know that we've met and that you've entered into a listing agreement with me. So I'll take that burden away from you.
That's bold.
So Anita does that. Did Anita walk away with a listing agreement that night? Sure, that she did. Anita called one of those realtors that was supposed to go in. And that's where the problem starts. So you can have what you do there, what I taught you just now, is completely legal. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That is ethical, legal, absolutely 100%. What was unethical was the behavior of the other realtor. We then called the seller. Now the seller's under our contract. They've signed with us. Anita calls them the next day to let them know that they've done that. Then you don't need to go to your appointment tonight or whatever, right? He starts berating and calling our seller. It became a gong show to the point where, I literally had to call the broker and say, stop it with your realtor, because the next step is we'll make a complaint to RICO. What they're doing, is acting unprofessionally, right? They're violating our code. But they're also doing a legal thing too. They're inducing a breach of our contract because the seller started to, get all scared, like what's going on here, right? So we had to do some triaging about that. So there is that potential to have happen, very rare to have happen. It was fortuitous that it happened, and I brought Anita up. We were working on this the whole week. In the next class, we brought her up and shared that with everybody. It all worked out in the end. She got the listing by doing that technique, and then we had to deal with some nonsense behind the scenes there, right? Which you will not. Like, that is the worst case scenario. I've had it happen twice in 30 years. Once her, once to me. That's it.
Now, if you meet with a seller in a listing appointment and the seller says, let's say, I'm not comfortable coming right now, or sign an agreement, or go on the market right now, I usually get them to sign an exclusive listing agreement.
Sure.
To bring my own buyers.
Sure.
To see the property while they're getting ready to go on the market.
Sure. Yeah, you can do two things.
So I won't lose the chance of,
Yeah.
losing the listing to
Yeah,
somebody.
so you do two things in that case, right? So one is to do an exclusive agreement right now. But two is do an MLS agreement as well with the commencement date. You're saying that these renos that you're doing, if the painting that you want to do is going to take about 3 weeks, perfect. So what we'll do is we'll do two things, because we have 1,600 realtors in our company. I have this big database of buyers that work in your marketplace. Let's get into an exclusive listing. Now, I won't be promoting it. I won't put a sign on because I can't do that. We all know that, right? You can't promote publicly.
You cannot put a sign on.
Within 3 days, that has to go to an MLS provider, right? Yeah, that's the Realtor Cooperation Policy that started this year. So we'll do an exclusive listing, and internally in our company, we can talk about it. There's over 1,600 agents. We might actually get your home sold before you have to go paint the house and do the renovations or whatever you're doing. Okay, that makes sense. True. But we can also sign an MLS contract right now. We'll do the agreement. And we're saying it's in 3 weeks, so let's put in 3 weeks from now. So we'll say November 21st will be the commencement date. And listen, if a couple of days before that, it looks like we need another week, we'll just amend it. The exclusive listing, we'll keep it going, right? That way, now this is not a dialogue, this is to us here. That way you protected yourself. You protected yourself, nobody else can secure a listing. So nobody else can go in there and get an MLS listing from you, even though your commencement date is in 3 weeks. Because what's the minimum requirement to be listed on Trev?
3 days.
That's to get it onto
60.
Oh, 60 days is the minimum listing duration.
Yeah.
So when you take a listing that goes to Trev, it has to be for a minimum of 60 days. So that 3 week window.
It went for 60 days or as long as you have to make it 90.
60, right, Matt? 60 days is the minimum, right?
60 minimum on Trev right now.
On Trev, yeah. So you've got that 3 week window where it's exclusive. Nobody can go in and take an MLS listing because it has to be for 60 days, and that 60 days would run into your listing. Okay, so you got to figure the math out on that. Yeah.
I had something similar that happened to me on Tuesday or Wednesday. I had a listing appointment with one of the old colleagues from Toyota. He called me over because he wants to sell his condo. But when we got there, I ended up selling an exclusive with him because his wife was pregnant and he didn't want to go through all the hassle now while she's giving birth next month. So he told me, he's like, hey bro, why don't you just wait until January? It's literally how it happened. He's like, hey bro, why don't you wait until January? And then in January, I'll come and sign a thing with you. And I'm like, well, listen, I'd rather have something locked in. I promise I won't bring anyone to your house, but I just want to have something in there just so we can all be prepared for what's going to happen next month, because I don't want to come back to you under stress or something. Like right now, we're in a situation where we're all sitting there. You're in the moment. You're in the vibe to sell and all that kind of stuff. So let's just get it signed. So he signed the exclusive BRA with me, him and his wife. I have the paperwork with me. So they signed it.
Yeah, always bring paperwork with you, by the way.
If they signed the paperwork because it's like a physical copy. So if they signed it, and then we agreed to list on January 15th, knowing that his wife will still give birth on December 11th is her duty or something like that. But it just gives you peace of mind. And I did extend it to the January 15th for the commencing on the MLS. So 15 or 16, one of those days.
See, what stopped this year, we had this thing called the Realtor Cooperation Policy that became effective January 6th or January 8th of this year, which means that any exclusive listing you take, if you publicly promote it, it's got to go to an MLS in 3 days, right? We're all familiar with that. Until that policy took effect, you would list exclusively, put a sign theoretically on the lawn, and you're now marketing that that property is gonna be selling, right? And it theoretically could be going to MLS. And the problem is, a lot of realtors were not doing step two, which was to secure their MLS listing at the same time. So, you know, a very good door knocking realtor that could knock doors and would find out that there's no MLS listing there, now has an opportunity to get an MLS listing, completely ethically too. Because you can, it's two different listings. Now, you know, you don't want to have them overlapping, right? So that the seller potentially would be owing two fees, but you just open the door. It can't happen now, right? So I'm just explaining to you what had happened pre-January 6th, but it did happen. You'd have these situations where I got this great exclusive listing, my seller's renovating the house, it's gonna take a while, but I got it exclusive. I forgot to do the MLS with the commencement date in the future, and somebody came along and scooped the listing. Yeah, doesn't happen now, yeah, yes.
I want to put a twist on it. In an open house, you walk in as like helping somebody or just happen to walk in as an agent and you get a client. Somebody walks in, looks at the house and complains about their agent. They've been listing it for a long time and they haven't done anything. Oh, they're not even anywhere to be found. Can you be my agent in 30 days when my agent agreement expires?
Sure.
Can you react to that?
Yeah, it happens probably all the time, right? There's, again, people are listing properties, they're giving away their fees, and people have other high expectations, and people are angry. So one, you gotta be mindful about not inducing a breach of the contract. So you can't be engaging in any conversations, coaching, counseling, advice that's gonna give that person any knowledge to go and get a cancellation. You start doing that stuff, you got RICO problems and you got legal problems, right? So it'd be, you know, listen, I understand, I appreciate that. You really should be having a conversation with your realtor and or their brokerage, right? I'm a professional ethical realtor. I cannot engage in any conversations about your property, why it hasn't sold, why it hasn't been, you know, all your buyers showing. If that has nothing to do with me, I just came in, I have a potential buyer, I'm looking around the house. Certainly when your property expires, if you want to reach out to me, we can have a conversation at that point, but I can't give you any advice whatsoever right now about.
So you have to wait till the agent agreement expires, or can you sign one up now for after the?
So by the letter of the law, you could sign something up, but are you, when you are under the microscope now, and you're being accused of counseling, coaching, advising this person to get out of a contract, and you signed one, it starts in 40 days, because this expires in 30. When that microscope is pointed on you, a telescope is pointed on you, how are you going to be effectively navigating that allegation? Okay? Yeah.
If you give them your number and you're under the microscope, are they gonna say like that's you inducing them to reach out to you? Like,
I think it could be used against you.
Yeah.
oh,
Sure. Add them to Facebook.
what's your Instagram?
Listen, it happens, no doubt about it, probably every day. Okay, we have 75,000 realtors with various degrees of ethical behavior right now, right? You just make a choice. Is this worth consuming the next 6 months, year and a half of your life in a RICO complaint or a lawsuit? Right? A conversation you're having in an open house with a complete stranger. Let me flip it on you too. You flipped it on me, I'll flip it on you. What if that is somebody trying you out to see what you're going to do? What if that person is a realtor to see what you're going to do? What if that person's the brother of the realtor and they do, you know, the brother's list, right?
The auction thing.
And trapping you.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. My advice to each and every one of you is this. When you walk into a house, whether you are on the listing side or the buying side, you presume or assume, and I know what the assume is, you know the make an ass out of you and me, right? That you're being recorded. Do you know how many videos I've gotten to see as a broker? I'm telling you, I'm not, it's no joke. When there's a problem, It's usually being recorded now in HD. You don't, like, I know it's Indy. I hear him, I see him, and he went into the fridge, he took the milk and took a big chunk. Oh, you're laughing, eh? I've got the video.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's showing the property to mom and dad with their 2 kids. Kids really had to go to the washroom. I told you this last week. Kids went out in the backyard to the washroom.
Oh my gosh.
That's on video. Yeah. Realtor goes to show a property. Very clear instructions on the listing. Do not wear a mask because the people in the house have respiratory problems, right? The house has got all these filtering systems, whatever. So if you're going to show this house, you have to wear a mask. That was a requirement. This was during COVID. Okay, you have to wear a mask, and please take your shoes off. And they had at the foot, the door, those things that you put over your feet. Okay, a little painter things. And please, adhere to these things, right? Our realtor, it's on my side. They go in and they immediately take the masks off.
Oh.
They walk around in bare feet, opening fridges, opening cupboards, and coughing everywhere. This is when people were so afraid of COVID. Like, you remember those days where, like, I didn't want to even look at you if I was there, right? This was right that, and it's all on video. And who is the client? A police officer.
Oh.
I got the videos. And it was funny, I was down in the legislature on Monday. The manager broker of the other side, we became like this. We're so close. But that was the first time we had met each other on this incident. You know what we ended up doing? Paying for a complete cleaning of the house. Complete cleaning of the house.
Someone linked it in chat, just so everyone could see it.
Oh, that's the milk. We've had the milk one here though, but yes, there is that. That's the one that became very public. There's also the one in British Columbia where
$20,000.
yeah. The British Columbia one where the guy buy your own milk. So buy your own milk. Some people have like little square jars of money or something, or little jars of money, loonies and toonies or whatever, quarters. And in British Columbia, there's an agent that goes in and takes the money out of the. Like, come on, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And it wasn't like they poured a glass, they took a swig straight from the container.
Oh, listen, I've got video, I saved them because it's fun to watch sometimes. Like of people sitting on their couches, drinking Tim Hortons, feet up on tables, and like, this is your house, you think? Like, please. You're being watched, you're being recorded. If you don't think you are, think
Act
again.
as if you were.
Lots of lessons to learn from that,
Yeah.
right? Lots of lessons. If you're walking with a buyer, do not be having any conversations with your buyer that have anything to do with buying that house.
Yeah.
And by the way, don't have them out in the front porch either, or the driveway. They have ring cameras on doors, they're hearing it all. So you prep your buyer and say, listen, it's gonna be awkward, but let's talk about the weather in the house, talk about whatever. Do not talk about what you would think about doing with this house, what you've been paying about this, any of that. Yeah.
Because it's happened to me last week.
Yeah. You drank some milk?
To just talk right now, don't talk ever about your strategy on this house with your client.
Yeah.
And the property.
Yeah.
The previous agent, he left the key without locking the thing. So that's first what she did. Then they went to the backyard.
Yeah.
They were talking.
Yeah.
But we were in the basement.
Yeah.
So the window was open and I heard all the conversation. So I sent my buyer upstairs, turn off the lights, like we left. And I was standing there and I heard the price, the strategies, and we won the listing. We went just 5,000 more that they put.
Yeah. So I used to, when I was selling, you go to the house, 'cause you always want to do your offers in person, right? Like I advocate that 1,000%, never email and stuff, try to get it face to face. So yeah, I'd go over there as a buyer's agent and do the offer presentation, and you know, that's a whole skill set to itself. And usually they'd ask you to give them some space, give some time, and oftentimes they would ask you to go downstairs, right? And so they would put you downstairs, and there's these things here. I don't know, what do they call them? What are those things? Oh yeah, you sit behind underneath the vent.
The best way to
You
listen.
hear a conversation. It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Oh, I love his offer and stuff, and yeah, but let's see if we can get.
Let's pretend.
Let's get Mike up another 5,000. Yeah, but okay, we'll try it. We'll see what he's gonna do. I know the whole strategy when I grew up. All because the duck worked, right? It's crazy. Anyway, yes.
25-minute warning.
Okay, 20 minutes, okay. I was trying to finish off that agent that I had, or the manager that sent all that stuff, and we fixed the house. We became very close friends. Very close friends. And she is going to be the president next year of the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, Alicia Sproul. And she found out a year ago. So we met 4 years ago at the beginning of COVID on this situation, right? She found out a year ago that we're actually related by blood. 3 generations ago. How cool is that? She goes, the way I handled it though on our side, right? Because listen, you can't, when you're in the wrong, you're in the wrong, right? Don't make excuses for stupidity and doing something wrong. You accept responsibility for that. And she, when I did that on behalf of our brokerage and our realtor, she was amazed. She thought it would be like, you know, dealing with, oh, prove it, this, that, and everything else. I didn't even know there was video. And so I said, listen, we'll make this right. That's exactly what they, we will make this right. What does the seller want us to do? The seller can go and do whatever they want complaint wise. I'm not trying to get you to stop that, but what can we do to make this seller feel comfortable in their home, their own home? This, done. You order it, you give me the bill, it's paid. We're making it right. We turned out to be relatives. Yeah, she's gonna be the president, like, so cool, right?
Yeah.
Versus I could have been a jackass.
Yeah.
Right?
You already hated your guts.
Right? And we would cross paths in, who would know, right? Now we cross paths in organized real estate. For me?
Agent discipline.
Cost our agent a few dollars. So
It's 20 grand?
You have to pay for it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, a complete cleaning of the house. Yes, and he's put me on a clock of 25 minutes. What's up?
Just 30 seconds. How would you define before going public the 3-day rule? Because I practice commercial and most of our.
Commercial is excluded.
Yeah, oh, it's excluded.
Yeah, commercial and pre-con are excluded from the realtor cooperation policy. It's only residential real estate. Okay? Yeah. All right, source not association. Okay, your initial point of contact with the seller needs to be friendly and smile when you're talking. Take pictures of this stuff. I'll go by this really quick because a lot of this stuff we've already talked about this stuff, okay? How did you hear about me? When are you planning on moving? Why are you moving? These questions are questions you need to put into your repertoire of questions, okay? So that you know what to say. I'm not saying you have to do every one of these questions in this order, specifically like, no, this is not how I operate. They're just questions you got sitting back here that you have internalized so that depending upon how the conversation unfolds, that's the question that I got to ask at this time. Does that make sense? That's one of those. Huh? Everybody got a picture of it? And you can go back to the video and watch it and pause it, okay? This is an example of a seller questionnaire. So if you look at page 45 and 46, that is just a generic example of a seller questionnaire. If you don't want to reinvent the wheel, you could use something like that. If there's something in there that you like and you've already got your own, add that in. If you have nothing, start with that. It's up to you, right? Just an example. Next is how to set a bona fide appointment. A bona fide appointment is one that you can get a signature tonight or signatures tonight and have an actual valid listing agreement, right? So if there's 2-3 people on title, they need to be there in your meeting. That's a bona fide appointment, okay? So if we were to meet, would all the decision makers be present? Is a good qualifying question to find that out, okay? What if we were be able to agree on all your concerns and satisfy all your needs? Would you okay the paperwork to allow us to market your home for sale? These are questions before the presentation. Because the presentation starts before the presentation. Makes sense, right? Would you be able to gather and have ready any documents that could help in the sale? What do they look like? Survey, mortgage, title documents. Most of us, I do, I have a little book at home with all of my stuff, Indy, all the bills he gave me for whatever he did. And my bill for this, bill for that, engineered this, yeah. So I have all that stuff. I have my survey, I have all that kind of stuff, which is helpful to me as the listing realtor. The mortgage stuff is so much easier today than it ever has been. So when I was selling, we'd actually have to get the bank to give us a mortgage, it's called a mortgage verification statement. You'd have to ask to request that. Now you can go online. We all do. Look every day, every week, or every month. Oh, my mortgage is going up, right? So you can verify the value of the mortgage today. Again, I said it before, we want to make sure there's equity in that house. God forbid there's no equity in the house, we list it, and when it comes time to paying the other fee to the other realtor, if there's no money there, then we might be helping pay for that, right? There's a question now.
Question, sometimes for the listing portion of it, they don't have the floor plan or the survey. Should we just order one, we'll buy one?
I would.
Yeah. For sure.
I would. There's all kinds of companies that do that now, right? Like, so I use the company called Planet, PLAN-IT, and they are an engineering company. They came in and they measured the whole house, and you saw the sketches, of course. A lot of your virtual tour companies now offer this as part of the packages that they're selling. So you get a virtual tour, and oh, by the way, they're measuring the house and doing a floor plan for you, right? If you're going to be using builder floor plans, I want to highly caution you about doing that, because the builder floor plans with the dimensions, they typically do not include what?
Renovations?
Well, definitely they wouldn't include that, yeah. But like if this was a pre-con right now and this room was being measured, what's absent from it in their measurements is the drywall, right? So you're giving what, 3-4 inches, right?
4 and 4.
Right, so they're giving you from the concrete, right, from the bare walls in. So highly caution you about using builder floor. You can use them as a reference. Hey, these are building floor plans. Attach them as an attachment. Just never use those numbers specifically. Yeah.
Do you charge back any of those services to the seller? Survey, floor plan?
Survey
that they're supposed to give you?
Yeah, so survey, I would not be paying out of my pocket for a survey. That's a couple grand, right? At minimum to get a survey done. If they have one, great. If they don't, well, if they don't have a survey of their property, how could you get a survey of their property without having to pay for a survey? There's a couple techniques you can use, right?
Can you buy it on G Warehouse? Sometimes they sell it.
So sometimes there's there, yeah. You can go knock the neighbor's door, because typically the neighbor's property will have the property beside them and behind them. So you can do it like this radius. And I've often, when I listed properties where there was no survey, when surveys were very important, because now we have title insurance. Title insurance helps with covering the actual meets and bounds of the property. Before that, we didn't have that protection. So I would go and knock doors. Hey, listen, Matt's listing with me at my county from Relevate, blah, blah, blah. We're struggling to find a survey. We don't have it on file. Would you happen to have a copy by chance of your survey? Because typically the survey that you have will have his property and vice versa. And I oftentimes would get surveys from a neighbor and develop a relationship, right? There's a company that offers this service, and it's for life of me, it's the name of it I can't remember, but there is a company that you can order surveys from. They don't have every survey in Ontario, but they have most of them. And it does come with a cost, right? So surveys are important, nice to have. If we don't have them and an offer comes in, what do we do with that statement? Cross it out. Right. They usually say, the seller agrees to provide an existing survey of said property, right? If you have it, great, you leave it in. If you don't, take it out. And definitely take the ones out, even if you have a survey, take the ones that are the pre-printed ones that says showing all the locations of structures and renovations. Take all that out. Okay? Kobe Bing, what's Kobe saying? Protect your boundaries. Thanks, buddy. That's the one. Protect your boundaries. You can go to that site and you can order a survey for the property through there. Thanks, Kobe. And let me click here. Multiple versus one meeting. Obtain a listing. So be prepared, blah, blah, blah. I already told you 66% of all listings are signed on the first appointment. So if your strategy is a one stop, two stop, or you want to go multiple, get in on the first one and get it done on the first go through, okay? Preparing listing, a pre-listing package. So we're not going to go through a lot of this stuff here, but this is the one that Royal Page signature gives you, right? This is the, yes.
I sent them 2 samples plus your 2 binders as well.
My 2 binders.
Your whole listing presentation binders, your gigantic ones. So we scanned last time. They have it all.
Okay. All right. This is this one here, like that one?
Yes, that's one of them.
Okay. So this is a example of a listing. I did this thing up years ago just to be more in 2019. So I did this 5-6 years ago of what it would look like if I was to list a property. And so it's the impact of the property. Seller, this is a home seller's guide. So this would be like a pre-listing package. So pre-listing package theory idea is to get them something before your actually presentation starts. So I booked the appointment tonight at 7 o'clock. Today I covertly, secretly drop over to their house and put something in their mailbox, okay? You don't want to talk to them. You don't knock the door, ring the doorbell, hey, no, you drop it in. You can, some of my friends would get like UPS things or FedEx or Canada Post.
This whole thing?
No, just like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This part. And you gave them the other one too, right? The one that's got the top 10 things of their house, that one? Okay. That was my pre-listing one. So look for that one. It's 9, 10, 11 pages. The last page says, write down your top 10 favorite things about your house. So I would drop that off in their mailbox before, like during the day, right? So that I would have material and they wonder how that got there. As I said, some of my friends would they'd go to FedEx or just get the blank shipping documents and it put it in. I thought it was kind of unethical, but they did it anyways. And they would, like, people thought FedEx delivered something to them. I didn't, don't do that. I put it in a Royal Page envelope. Okay, so then you're gonna go through like a CMA. This is before I had a beard, so before beard Mike, okay? Oh, and you sent the other one too. Yeah. That was goatee Mike when I was selling it. That was right. That was the I have an investment into your house. Do you have that one as a pull-up? I'd like to go through that one for you. So this is like a CMA of the market, not the actual house. So I'm charting out all kinds of statistical realities with charts and stuff like that. And we give you guys here all kinds of great charts of what's happening in the market. Start using that stuff. Then my CMA of the property. So it's a deep dive into the property and using the stuff you can get on Geo and Impact to do that. There's things right there. You know, there's things you can purchase off it. Well, yeah, exactly. Look at that, eh? Oh, I was. How old do you think I was in that picture? 25. I was about 28, 27, 28. Yeah, I was a little baby, eh? I was a baby. Okay, so that's that. What I wanted to share with you there. So this was an actual thing that would go in all of my presentations for a listing. And so this is going back. So based on an average $85,000 annual income, which at that time was, I think, for us, master sales in our marketplace back in those days. And 85,000 didn't seem to be outrageous. Yes, it was more than the average Canadian was making, but it wasn't like saying I make $250,000 on paper, right? So it was something that they could understand, because here's what my theory behind this one was. And that was my tagline, by the way, relaxed, sold. So that was on all my collateral material, relaxed, you know what I like, ... That was what I used to use for that. But the theory behind this for me was the vast majority of who I was listing with are not in a commission-based industry or commission-based sales. They are in a traditional style work job, right? Meaning they may go, you're a union guy, right? Union guys, they have to punch clock typically, right? Even today, I imagine, right? Some fashion, right? Or you're in a corporate environment, you're on a salary, right? So you have a pegged income, either an hourly rate or a salary. So if that's how the vast majority of people that I'm dealing with get paid, and I don't get paid that way, I created this so that it would be a tie-in analogy for them to understand how they get paid, how I get paid, but making the way I get paid, the way they get. You understand that? Yeah. So I would assign like time, right? Because if you're a unionized person and you're clocking in, you're getting paid by your time. Your performance may not be the best or maybe exceptional, but it's the time you're getting paid. If I'm a salary job and my job is I got to be at, by the way, I'm here, I'm like neither of these as well, right? So I come and go as I please. I also, like last night I stayed here till 8 o'clock. I got here at 8 and I left at 8. So I don't have hours, right? But typical people do in an office environment, right? They'll have an 8 hours. And in the 8 hours, you get 2 15-minute breaks and an hour lunch. I get none of that. I go eat when I want to, or typically don't eat during the day,
That's
right?
when you made it.
My choice, right? My choice. But most people, this is how they get paid, whether it's salary or, so I figured back then, what does that look like? Well, my first visit may be 2 hours. So I'm actually now investing in this business relationship. And that 2 hours was $120 based upon a $60 an hour income, based upon making $85,000 a year, right? So you could figure out the math yourself how you want. This probably could still work for today, right? But you want to put in their head what it actually costs you in real money. Because our business being a fee-based business, we only get paid upon performance. And as I said to you last week, performance, I sell your house tonight, get it all done, I don't get paid for 90 days. So my actual performance payout is 90 days away or 60 days away. But I want them to understand these are my upfront risks that I'm willing to take and I'm going to take because this is performance-based and I have no problem putting my performance on the line and investing this kind of money for your property. That's the kind of dialogue I would use for that, right? Up to you if you want to use something like that. I always found it was very helpful, particularly people that were hourly. Like that they got that resonated with them because in their mind, it's a 5% fee. It's $1 million property. Mike Kennelly just made $50,000. That's how these people perceive that to be. And we know that's not the case because there's two sides of transaction unless you're, on both ends. So it's half of that to start with, 25. And we're going to break that down, what that looks like next week, what expenses you're incurring, whether your political compass points in the red side, the blue side, the yellow side, the green, it doesn't matter. We're all paying taxes, right? To whatever political, there's a big chunk of your income gone there. Royal LePage Signature takes a little bit of your, to pay for people like me to be a part of your wonderful lives, right?
Take a break when they want.
Do you show this chart on top of commercials at the end of the
Yes.
presentation?
Yeah. Actually,
You don't send this with your for listening book.
No. This is part of my yeah. Actually, if you look on page 57, which is the next class, it should be in the first hour anyways. I'll cover that off. That's a little kind of commission pie chart, right, where we do all the expenses and stuff. Anyways, hopefully this is helpful for you. I found this a few months ago. We used it in my last course, and everybody laughed at the picture.
Very helpful answering the first question.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
That binder, the guy that dropped it off by FedEx or delivered it. So you just trying to get a sense of the time.
I dropped it off myself.
Oh, okay.
Secretly, covertly, in the mailbox, and ran so that nobody I didn't want to have a conversation with them, right? But I had friends that would use, like, they didn't pay for them from FedEx and pay FedEx to deliver. They just used the FedEx box or whatever, or sleeve, and put it in and dropped it in.
So we do it before the listing
Yes,
presentation?
it's a pre-listing package. That's the pre-listing package, which you should have a copy of what I used to use for pre-listing, right, Matt?
And we don't want to run into the person.
I did not want to run into
Because
them.
you don't want to go into the details?
Correct. I didn't want to have a conversation. I wanted the conversation to unfold when I got there.
So if
Ring
you,
bell now.
Pardon me?
If you say it wasn't me, they can check ring bell. Oh.
Well, that's right, yeah. So, yeah, put a mask on.
this is inside the package as well?
Pardon me?
This is inside the package or no, we don't?
This is in my listing package, not the pre-listing package.
So
The
there's two
listing-
packages?
Yes, yeah, there's two.
So.
I use two personally.
Okay.
Like, you don't have to use two, you can use one. You can use none. You can go there and wing it. It's up to you. This is your business. I'm just giving you a glimpse inside of what I used to do,
What
right?
was the main difference between pre-listing and listing in terms of the content?
Yeah, so pre-listing is high level kind of, hey, I'm gonna, yeah,
Listing is very
oh, very
specific.
detailed. Yeah,
Okay.
very detailed.
I remember before all of this Asian stuff, like, I went to go sell my house.
Yeah.
So I was interviewing agents.
Okay.
I asked for the material. She wouldn't give it to me.
Right. That's a choice you make too, right? So do you want to leave behind your material or not? That's a
She said,
choice.
You're gonna share it with someone else. I said,
Right,
"Yes."
yeah.
And then she left.
And some sellers do that, unfortunately, right? Again, this is your choice. This is your business. If you want to leave the collateral material that you produce behind, do it or don't do it.
Or you, we added this benefit if she shared it with someone else. I personally don't, I'm okay with sharing.
I share.
The way she was thinking, I was like, why would she
Yeah.
not share it?
I'm sure. Yeah. Like it's, put it this way. What's your favorite song? Yeah, music. Give me your favorite song.
I have kids, so kid songs are great.
Whatever.
Up where we belong,
What's it called?
up where we belong.
Up where we belong. Who sings
Joe
that?
Cocker and,
Okay, so Joe Cocker and whoever, Up Where We Belong.
what's his name? Ponytail.
Okay. He's gonna sing that song with his beautiful vocal cords, no problem. And those are the words. He's vocalizing words, right? With pitch and what I am not very good at it. I'm tone deaf. I could take those same words and try to deliver what Joe Cocker does and completely fail. So if I'm going to give my material that I produce and somebody's going to give that to somebody else, it's like Joe Cocker's song, he performs it and I try to perform it. It's not the same. People have taken my course. This course I've run for kind of about 20 years. I was teaching people when I was still selling real estate as a realtor. I didn't give all my secret stuff away, but I did a lot of the other stuff. People have taken my course, other brokerages, other managers from other companies, and try to teach this. They can't, because this is my story. It's me, right?
My tree.
They are using my words, but they can't put my words into practice and reality. Okay. So if you leave behind your material and they give it to somebody else, great. All they did is give material, words. If you cannot express those words into action and emotion, it means nothing. It's going to sit on a shelf. It's going to get
It's like
dust.
somebody reading your notes.
That's how I look at it. So I was always about giving that material and leaving it. If somebody wanted to try and copy it, knock yourself out. Good luck to you. Right? To me, it was a test of trust and faith too, right? Like, I'm trusting you with my material. If you want to be nefarious about it and give it away, that speaks to you, not to me, right? So, okay. Oh, yeah. No.
Okay, so a real life example. Yesterday, I went to, remember how we were doing that CMA contest?
Yes.
I gave one to someone. She calls me back. She says, my neighbor, I think he's asking for a buyer. I said, no, I want to be a lister. So I Google it. And then it's not an MLS. I print out a booklet, the buyer seller, went to his house, okay, dropped it off, and the timing was perfect because his wife was just sitting on the porch. And then only the husband was on the deed. Husband came out, spoke to him. He says, "You're number 3.
about the first, and he's like, I haven't signed. Okay, so that was yesterday. So now I'm thinking, I should go back to the pre-listing package. He did say to me, I asked him, what's the best way to contact? Like, what's your
Preferred
way
method of communication.
Yes. He says email. I'm not dropping hard copy stuff. Like, how should I do this for 2024? Like, should I respect his email and do PDFs or do the hard copy?
No, just go now again and get the list, get the meeting. So like
I asked for a meeting. He's like, no meeting.
I was like, I get it, but what is the best time for you?
But,
You can interview as many as you want, but you have to push yourself. Like, this is the time that you have to be persistent, and you will come one day, then you drop the email again, ask again, and at some point, you will see that you're getting stuff done, and he will invite you over other people if they don't do.
Yeah, yeah. So she's describing a thing that is huge. It's called persistence, right? And so if you're a seller and you want to put your property in the market and get it sold, you want the realtor that is not going to be persistent about things. So if they're angry that you dropped a physical copy of something off when they asked you for an email, now I'd be like, oh, I know you said that, but listen, I'm a persistent person. When you hire me, I go to the extra length of getting your property sold. So the other realtor, yeah, they're just like every other realtor, just email it to you. I'm so dedicated, invested in trying to get your property sold. I went back and I prepared this for you, and I wanted to give it to you because that's what you're hiring when you get me. I'm going to exceed any expectations you may have had, right? I'm sorry if you were upset that I gave you a hard copy, but that's how I do my business, right?
Is it your neighbor?
No, my friend's neighbor.
Yeah.
It's like, I know the neighborhood. Like,
What's my time?
1 o'clock morning.
Okay, 1 o'clock. I want to get going on this, but I wanted to pick out some, I think I heard this, where you said that your friend told you that this guy was selling?
Yeah.
And you went and talked to them. Did you say to your friend first, so hey, would it be all right?
Oh yeah, I went to my friend and I even said, thank you. And I said.
Oh, before.
I asked her.
So just, I wanted to clarify that. So if you have a friend or a neighbor or a past client that talks about, hey, my friend Matt at work is thinking about selling or buying, great, perfect. Just clear it with the person that said that first. Would it be okay if I went and reached out to Matt? Because you don't want to go take that information that they've just given you, go show up with Matt, and then Matt freaks out because, hey, Matt, you know what? Donovan told me that you were thinking of selling. Now Matt's pissed at Donovan for something. You know what I'm saying? So you want to clear it first with whoever's telling you about that. That's how I did it. Okay? Because you could cause friction between those two people. See what I'm saying? Right? Okay, listing presentation, be on time, dress for success. That's standard. I mean, come on. These are some things that homeowners are definitely thinking about in their brain. So have answers to why your company, what do you charge? You know, where are you going to sell? What are you going to do to sell my house for top dollar? What is my house worth? What is the market like? If you have to be on point with all this stuff. People today expect the unexpected, and why is that not going, Matt? There. And they expect nothing but top shelf service. And you don't deliver it 24/7 during the time you have their listing, they're going to get upset. They're going to blame you for things. They're going to blame you for things that are out of your control. You have no, part in, but you're going to be blamed for them. Next one, listing presentation. Are you ready? It should be on page, where are we here? 48. Yeah. How many more pages do I have here? Okay, I got to really jack this up. So, deliver your Academy Award-winning role, your gold medal, presidential speech, to put on your concert at Super Bowl. So you got to be delivering at that level of execution. I used to, with the gold medal one, I used to have a video and I lost it. I can't find the damn thing, but I had a video in 2010 that I used to use in my training, and it was the Olympics, the 2010 Olympics. So if you ever come into my office, you'll see there's a Team Canada jersey on my wall. You ever seen that jersey? Yeah. And that's a jersey from a player, Rick Nash. Rick Nash was the #1 draft pick in the NHL. He was on Team Canada multiple years. And in that year, they won the gold medal, right? Team Canada won the gold medal. Rick won the gold medal. Rick was my client when I sold real estate. One of my last sales in real estate was selling him a cottage up in the Muskokas. which has a whole amazing kind of story behind it. If you ever want to hear it, come and ask me, I'll tell you about it. But I used to use this video, and the video that I created was showing a picture of Sidney Crosby, because in that year, Sidney Crosby scored the goal to win Canada the gold medal. Okay, right. So this was his one of his biggest successes. Gold medal for Team Canada. Yes, Stanley Cup is what every Canadian boy wants to hoist up and drink out of and do all that kind of stuff with. But the gold medal, this is representing your country. And so the video I created was, where did that start, right? So it's him on the podium getting the gold medal with the rest of Team Canada. And so did that gold medal start at the goal, like when he scored the goal? No. Did it start when Jerome McGinley, who was his line mate, that passed him the puck, did it start there? No. Did it start in training camp, and the initial line was Sidney Crosby, Jerome McGinley, and Rick Nash. Did it start there, Team Canada's training camp, to forge this team to become the gold medal? No. Did it start when he was the captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins? Did it start when he won his first Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh? Did it start when he was in junior hockey? Did it start when he was in, believe it or not, the Timbits program? Like Tim Hortons has Timbits. Did it start there? No. Did it start with, and I found a picture of a washing machine and dryer, that when he was a kid, he would be in the basement of the house shooting pucks at the washing machine and dryer. And there's an actual picture of this thing dented up, scarred up and stuff. It starts there at the very earliest stages. We only see the end product, right? We see the person going up and getting their Academy Award. We see the gold medal. We see the Stanley Cup. And we think it just happened. It never just happens. It happens so far back in history, right? In the practicing, getting to be professional. And so none of us, myself included, are at the gold medal level at all times, unless we keep practicing with it and keep at it, right? We have a realtor in here who's one of our chairman's club. He kind of comes in and out of chairman's club. This guy at 7:30 in the morning is on a call with, I think it's 20 realtors in North America doing dialogues and objection handling techniques. This guy's been in the business for almost as long as me, like 28 years. And every morning from Monday to Friday, 7:30 to about 8:30, he's here in this office doing these types of things. And if you think a guy like that, that's 28 years in the business, that invests every day dialoguing with other realtors in Miami and Houston and LA, all across the United States. He's the only Canadian in the group that he's in. And it's through the Mike Ferry program, by the way. So Tom Ferry's father's coaching company. That's the level that if you want to get the gold medal or expect to get it, that you got to be playing at every day, I think. Our realtor goes away on vacation for a week. He comes back and he feels rusty. He's only gone away for a week. He's only not participated for 5 days in these kind of calls. And he comes back, and by the way, it's Stan Bernardo, in case you're wondering who it is. Stan's here in this office. And Stan's like, Mike, I feel like rusty. I know, like, Mike, are you kidding me? But though, it makes sense. He's not conditioning every day for the things that you need to be conditioned for in real estate. If I got off the ice for a week or two and I played hockey, that's like an eternity. You lose your legs, you lose your timing. That's why when guys come back from being on injury, like they don't take a pass like that they could do with their eyes closed. They got to get their rhythm back. They got to get conditioned back in. So you guys have to be like that at that high level. And literally it's a couple hours a day to do that. Just my humble opinion, right? Okay, next one, Matt. I gotta do that. This thing is giving me circle. Okay, why is it going, Matt? I went backwards. Now it's not doing anything. Listen, okay, these are scripts. I'm not going to go through these scripts, but there's some lovely material in these scripts for you guys to read. Again, this is your business. You build out the words that you want to use. I'm sharing with you some of the stuff that I used. Hopefully you adopt some of it. What are their goals, motivations, desire? We talked all about this stuff. It's glad that I don't even have to do this. Do Matt?
Baby batteries, and I'll go for you.
the guided tour. So when you do get to the house, you want a guided tour of the house. The mistake I think realtors do when they first get to a house is they want to go right to the kitchen table or dining room table. Like, well, let's go there. That's again, that's trying to consummate the marriage before you wine and dine the person, right? So let's do a guided tour. And I would literally get into the house. One of the first things I'm looking for is scanning the property, scanning inside, anything that I can pick up that I can start building rapport with right away. So for me, it'd be like, what kind of car did they have on the driveway? Oh, they had like a Mustang or they had a Mercedes. And so I'd make some kind of, oh, I love your car, or I love your landscaping of your house, or I love, like, I'm trying to get something that I can start a conversation.
Icebreaker.
It's an icebreaker rapport building thing, where I walk in, I see the picture of somebody on the wall, or, oh, that's a beautiful picture, or I don't know, something to build rapport out. And I would say something to the effect like, hey, listen, before we sit down, I'd love for you to give me a guided tour of your house and pretend that I'm a cash buyer. You're like, oh, okay, you know what stuff? No. Right now, I just come into your house. Pretend I'm a buyer walking into your house, not the guy that's here to list your house and sell it. I'm the one that's here to buy it, and I have cash in my pocket to do it. So would you be able to give me a guided tour as if I'm a cash buyer to try to sell me your house? They're not expecting something like that, like totally like, whoa, right? And I go through and I always brought, I didn't bring it here, but my little royal LePage, there's one right there. You see that? There's a royal LePage, show that. Can I show that? Yeah. So we give you guys these things for free, right? So use them. They have paper in them. You take it out. You wouldn't mind if I take notes because I don't want to forget anything that you're telling me about your house. Remember, I'm the cash buyer. I want to take note of these things because it's going to help me sell your house when it comes time for me to sell your house when we do all the paperwork to get your property in the market. So I'm already starting right from the beginning. I walked in, building the rapport, and I'm already talking about I've got their listing. Did you feel that when I said that? I've already got your listing. I'm taking notes because I take this so seriously about that, right? So you go
Never
through.
kick the cat.
Pardon me?
Never kick the cat.
No, don't. If they have pets, trust me, they love their pets more than they do human beings, okay? So you get to know their pets really well, just saying. So you do the tour of their house. And by the way, would you be able to point out all the features that you really love about your house? I really want to make a note of that. Because if you love them, I guarantee you the buyer's gonna love them, okay? If their house is in disrepair, shabby, don't make any compliments about that. That's not going to be genuine. If they make comments about, oh, you know I've got a hole here, I know my rug's like that, no problem. What we're going to do, and this is why you're walking around, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in my stager. My stager does this for a living. Every day they're in all kinds of houses. They know what to recommend. They know what to say. That's not my place to do that. You know, I don't have a show on HGTV for that. So, but we're going to bring in somebody that's going to be able to help you. So don't worry about that because you don't want to get in those conversations about, yeah, that's a pretty crappy rug there. Stay away from that. So when you are finished your tour, you know, you're coming back down and say, well, did you want to sit at the kitchen table or do you want to sit at the dining room? Right? Let them make a choice, either kitchen table or dining room. Don't go in the family room. Don't go anywhere where there's a TV, by the way, right? Because if they turn the TV on, then you're going to get distractions. You want to have a quiet space. And oh, let's do the kitchen table. Perfect. As you're going to the kitchen table, this was taught to me in my first or second week of selling real estate. So this is going back 30 years from a realtor that had been in the business for a long time. He goes, Mike, I'm going to teach you this great technique when you're bringing it to the kitchen table. Practice it. It works great. And it's like this. He goes, you're walking, you got your book, and you go, you know what? I'm going to sell your house. Just like that, right? And I'm like, that's stupid. That's like the corniest thing I ever seen. You do that? That's ridiculous. So phony. He goes, Mike, it's tonality. It's, well, he didn't say that, but it becomes tonality and delivery, right? The way I delivered it was kind of the way I delivered it over my career, which was, you know, I stopped, put my finger here, I looked up, and I go, you know what? I'll sell your house. Delivery. You might initially think a little cheesy, but not really, because it's like, I'm confident I'm going to get your house sold. And so, of course, I hear this. I think it's BS. I'm not going to try it, but I'm going to try it. What the heck? The first time I tried it without practicing, and I did like what he said, you know, I don't think I can sell your house. I said, I don't. I didn't practice it. So if you're gonna try that, practice it that you're gonna sell the house. Yeah, I know. I was like, they laughed. They laughed just like you. I'm like, yeah, I was just joking. I can say it.
Can you retract?
No, they laughed. I was just joking. I was really quick on my feet. You should be very quick on your feet in sales, okay? Anyhow, I used to do that for all of my sales. And the theory behind it is it's delivering confidence to them that you're going to sell the property. And there's kind of this subconscious thing by doing this, like it's like you're pausing. I'm looking up into the sky. Who's up in the sky? For those of you that are God. God's going to help us sell this house.
And you're also in their comfort zone in the kitchen.
And then kitchen, yeah. Anyways, it does work. Practice it if you're gonna try it. You know, make it sound as not cheesy. And don't say that you're not gonna sell it. And if you are, thank you. If you are, say I'm just joking. Your fee, this is the course we're gonna do next week, I believe, right, Matt? Okay, next slide. We talked all about this stuff. Take a picture if you want or look back. Don't have to go over it. We went through all this kind of stuff, right? Go ahead. Custom design your own market. Yes, we did that. Proactive strategies. Yes. Timelines measure. The timelines benchmarks. I think I've got an example of that in the book here for you guys on page 52. If you go to 52, right? If you go to page 52, this is just it's day 7. Wouldn't that be great if we listed and sold it in day 7? That was all we did, right? So this is just a snapshot of a scheduled timeline. Again, let's go back to who we're talking to. We're talking about people that have a traditional job. Oh, that's it there. That's it there. So we're talking about people that have a traditional job. Traditional job, you go in and you're told what to do. Would you agree with that? So if I'm in a union environment, I go to work at, where were you again?
Bell.
You're up Bell. So if I go in, I'm working for Bell, I'm a unionized guy, I'm sure that the Bell leader, manager is telling me, here's your responsibilities today. Do you agree with that? If I'm in an office environment, I come in, maybe I'm a data entry clerk, or maybe I'm a manager, right? Here's what the expectation is of you today. Okay. Again, we're in a fee-based, commission-based, we're our own boss kind of thing. Do we have our own schedule like that for ourselves? And or do we have a schedule like that for the people we're representing? No. Well, I created one for myself. Here's what it's going to look like. This is a snapshot. So don't come and say, oh, Mike, I would do this, this, and it as well. Yes, I know. The book's small, right? So I only put a few things in for you. You can put in all kinds of things. These are the things, the tasks, the jobs that I'm doing. This is for 7 days. You're going to want to have it for probably 90 days to 120 days. So building out all these things. How is that helpful? Well, it's helpful now to show that person that you're just like them. That you have all these things that you have to do. Because they think all you do, unless you share what you really do, that all you do is you get them to sign a piece of paper and you get a sign. Sometimes we have other people get to sign and put it in their lawn, or you go and put it in your lawn. You put it on some kind of computer system and the thing sells. And I'm paying you $50,000 to do that. No, we're doing a whole lot more. You have to communicate that to them. They have to see that. And this is one great way of doing it. I think there's another thing I use for this too, is there? That's
Your fee structure?
yeah, we're gonna finish with that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Is that the next one?
No, that's the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Determine goals. Take a picture if you want.
You're about right here, is it?
Okay.
Yeah, we did this.
Okay, scroll. I scroll that.
This is your
Okay.
one.
So we'll finish on this one, and it will have only been an hour and a half. Or sorry, 2.5 hours, not 3. Sorry. Close. So, was it good though so far?
Yeah.
Okay, so remember I told you when we first started like 2 hours plus ago about me and having a problem one time with clients of mine that were talking, and Mike had different fee structures. I think I gave Indy 3.5. I gave John a 5.
5.
And I charged Donovan 6, right? So and because I had a referral-based business, people are going to talk with each other. So this system here avoided this, and so I created these 3 levels: deluxe, premium, and economy. If you think of it in the same terms of gas, when you pull up to the gas station, you have a choice to put different levels of octane gasoline into your car, right? You have bronze, silver, and gold. And if you go to, I think it's Petro, because they took on Sunoco stuff, you can get to 94.
94.
Right, okay.
Your
I
car
have-
forces you.
Pardon me?
Your car forces you what to choose.
Yes, my car and most of your cars probably have inside your thing what you're supposed to put in there, right? Otherwise, you know, mine, of course, says the most expensive gas.
Me too.
But anyhow, along the same kind of sensibility or metric for that, is this deluxe, premium, and economy. Again, page short, I'm not gonna put the whole program in here, but we have just a sampling, small sampling of the services that we're going to be able to provide in the different plans. Okay, again, this list here is going to go right through down to the ground floor because that's my premium package. Okay, what I was asking for is the 130 things that we do as a realtor or whatever. Was that
The critical role here there?
yeah, that one. So, yeah, put it up there just for a second. So one of the handouts we gave you was called the critical role of a realtor. Okay,
Take your kids to school.
what this will help you, right? This is an old document that came out of Royal LePage like 15, 20 years ago. So these are activities that we do, and there should be like 4 or 5 pages of them, right? Yeah, so scroll them down. I think it came out to 130 or something, right? 100, oh, more than that. Okay, there we go. 108. Okay, so there's 180 things that you can use. You can go off that now, but you got this, right? You guys? Okay. So if you're gonna create kind of the model that I used to use, and you're wondering what the heck do I fill in for these types of things, use that piece of paper that has 180 things that you're doing as a starting point, okay? That you can start filling in some of these things as well. And what you want to do is obviously you want to be, and I put in 6% because this is the thing that I used to use when I was selling. I stopped selling, of course, 17 years ago. So I was always going for 6% in my premium plan, right? Sorry, my deluxe plan. And my premium would be 0.5% reduction, and economy plan, you know, up to 1%. The economy today would most likely be your deluxe, I would say, okay, in today's marketplace. But this accomplished a couple of things. One, remember, we don't want to talk about commissions when they first call you, right? Or you're having a conversation and we want to, gee, I don't know. I'd have to see your house first before we could come to that conclusion. When would be a good time to meet? Tonight at 6 o'clock or tomorrow at 7, right? Take it off the plate. If they hit you with it when you first walk in the door, well, that's great. Let's just table that at the end of the presentation. That's why I'm saying when I walk into the house where I'm trying to build a rapport right away and disarming them with the guided tour, it's so that they won't ask that question, right? Because I don't want that question. I want it at the end. And when I'm presenting this at the end, after going through the whole presentation, here's what I'm going to do, staging, here's what I'm going to do, this, da, 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 there's already value building up. And then when I show all the things that I'm doing that they have no idea that you do, and you may, when you read the 180 things, you go, oh, I didn't realize I did that. Oh, I didn't realize I did that. Because you take it for granted. You took it all for granted. Don't take it for granted because it took time, energy, and effort for you to do those things. Document them. And so at the higher level, you want to have as many of these things documented as you can to justify that fee that you're going to be assessing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Good question. Sometimes in here, the virtual tour and all of that stuff, staging, they have additional costs. Did you account them and include it in the 6%? Meaning, are you going to pay for it? Are you going to ask them to pay for it?
Good question. So this right here?
Yeah.
Virtual tour. And what was the other thing you said? Staging?
Staging.
Right. So this becomes, it's your business again, right? So if you're going to be covering staging expenses, to what degree are you covering staging expenses? And when are you going to cover it? So if I'm covering staging expenses, by the way, virtual tour for me was like, that was an expense, is $500, $600. And even people that are discounting their fees are doing some types of virtual tours. Yes, I still see people that have their cameras with their thumb over the picture, or there's still those things. But vast majority of people are doing virtual tours. But this here, if I'm gonna cover a staging consult, no problem, that's a couple $100 usually, right? And for me, staging had just become a new kind of partner in our business of selling real estate. Now it is, I mean, we have people that have their own staging companies, like the lady here and Marty Peterson. Depending upon the degree of what I'm looking at as far as staging, if they want me to cover, because the stager recommends a full gutting of the carpets, full paint job of the whole house, and they give me some numbers. 3,000 square foot detached house, I want to paint that top to bottom, how much?
$8,000.
How much?
8.
So he's actually a renovator.
Oh, me too.
How much?
65-ish, 67.
Okay. I want to take out all the carpets in the house and let's go low level. We'll put back carpets. We'll put a Berber carpet in. How much is that going to cost? All right, we'll stop there because we're over 10. Are you going to put out of your own pocket $10,500? I hope not. Sadly, I've had realtors in this office do that without any backup protection for themselves. Because what happens sometimes? Property expires and realtors already fronted the money. Nothing in writing to say what happens. Okay, so if you're going to do this type of thing, and you're going to add this into your business model, you have to do these types of numbers like we just did. Okay, Mr. Seller, it's $10,500. What I will do at my fee of 6%, because this is going to be the deluxe plan, is that I will compensate you for that work. But you're responsible for that work, right? So you enter into the agreement with the contractor. You get the warranty for this that you can transfer to the buyer, right? You got to think of it more than just you want to get out of paying $10,500. Like there's a purpose that you don't want to get on the hook for it, but hey, you do the work, you get the receipts, you transfer the warranty, right? Does that make sense, doesn't it? And upon closing, successful closing, then I will amend the listing agreement, or I will compensate you through a rebate or some form like that. Never front this money ever. Happened last year 3 times. Last year was so bad. People were hemorrhaging, trying to sell stuff. And I had 3 agents in this office go ahead and do that without any protection whatsoever. And then the one case I had warranted, the one person had actually come in to tell me this is what their strategy was. The other 2 just went and did it and then came back, tried to fix it. I was like, there's nothing to fix, unfortunately, right? But the one, and it was $21,000 was the number. Our realtor came to me to tell me that this is what they're prepared to do. I said, okay, well, that's your business decision. To protect you, here's what I recommend. And I wrote down exactly what you need to do. Enter into an agreement, just like this, with the seller to cover yourself in the event that this doesn't sell or they ask for a cancellation, right? Otherwise, they may not pay you. Of course, our realtor said, Mike, no, they're not. They're good people. They're amazing people. They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. And I said, oh, people do that. It unfortunately does happen. Yeah, but it's not like them. They're not like that. Okay. Well, I've done my, due diligence, my charity to you to say this is what I would recommend. They chose not to do it, and of course, the property doesn't sell. And when she went to try to get paid for the money she fronted, they no, I'm not paying you. But you said you would. But
if you sold it,
I don't have anything in writing with you, but I'm not doing it. And you didn't do this, and this. I'm not paying you. And then she had the seller had their lawyer write our realtor a letter to say cease and desist all communications, and that you have no right to claim any. There's nothing in writing. So I I shared the story with you so that you do not make the same mistake somebody else made. That cost them $21,000 last year. So we had a question there and there, yeah.
Can you please start over how do we bring this up and how do we predict, what do we say to them?
Oh, so if you're going to engage in paying for staging and things like that, well, it better be on your deluxe plan. It better be on the plan that you're getting, a premium to your fee, because if you're fronting that, that's basically just giving that money away, right? So you want to have that built in and cover. And so you're going to have a contract with the seller that, in our case that we just did with Indy was $10,500 would be the cost to renovate, to upgrade the property. Seller fronts that, right? They pay out of their own pocket because they can transfer the warranties to the new buyer. And then upon successful closing, you can give them a rebate. You can do whatever you want to protect yourself, but you're not out of pocket. Make sense? Yeah. Pardon me? It's sadly, I get to see it all, right? Like, you guys are in these kind of cocoons, right? You're in these bubbles and there's so many good people. There's no bad people out there. There's a lot of bad people out there. Here's my lesson on money. Money is only a magnifier of who you are. And what do I mean by that? If I'm a charitable person, I'm a giving person, more money is just going to make me more charitable, more giving, right? So maybe I donate to the food bank more, or maybe I donate to my favorite charity more. That's what money does for that person. I'm a greedy person and all I care about is just hoarding this money stuff for myself. Then more money just makes you more greedy.
Steal from charity.
Now there's people in between, and they steal from charity, sure. People are all points in between that, but those are the two extremes. And all that money did was magnify who you were. That makes sense, right? There's people like this seller, in this case, and we had two others last year, that all the friendly talking and all the, oh yes, I'll pay you back. Don't worry. Out the door for $21,000. So that person's integrity and ethic, everybody has a price. $21,000 was that person's price. That they didn't even give our person $1,000. Thanks for coming out and smell you later. They didn't even do that. Yeah.
I had a similar situation, I think back during COVID, 2022, 20,000, same amount. And funny enough, your counterpart, Michael, told me not to do it.
The other Michael.
It was a buyer that ran into a financial issue at a closing.
Yeah.
And they were literally gonna get sued, crying, and they needed 20,000. I just wrote a check. And still waiting. Yeah. And it was like, don't worry, I'll pay you back. And after first few months, then it became 3 months, 4 months, and then it was like, I don't know anything.
Amazing, right? Amazing how that.
Sue me, take me, go through the lawyers, that sort of thing.
Again, money is a magnifier of who you already are. End of story, right? Okay, any other questions on that? So this was how I avoided Indy, John, and Donovan's problem in the back behind the scenes. And so this actually did happen to me. Thank God I had this system in place to deal with that. Because who did I get a call from? Donovan and John, not Indy. Indy was like, he was happy. But I did get calls because there were conversations that occurred at a hockey arena and I wasn't there. And they were hot, they were angry. And I was like, hey, I appreciate that, there's a misunderstanding here. Let's go back to when we listed your house. Do you remember we sat down and we had these fee plan systems and you chose the deluxe and, you chose the premium, John, and actually Donovan chose the deluxe, and Indy, the cheap buddy that he is, he chose the economy. By the way, I said not cheap, it's economy, right? That's economical, right? He chose the economical. Took a little longer to sell Indy's property. We might not have maximized the value, but John and Donovan, we threw the kitchen sink at selling your house, put all that in there, and we sold it in record time for the record price on the street in the neighborhood. That was the outcome. But listen, it was not because I liked Indy better or more. It was when we sat down these were the plans that I offered in my system, and that was what we chose. You remember that? Oh, yeah. Because remember, it's all emotion. We did the experiment last week. Everything's emotional in this business. They got emotional when Indy told them that they only got charged. Now, it wouldn't have been 3.5% to me, like it would have been, the lowest I would have been was 5% back when I sold, right? So, but there's still a delta between John and Donovan's. The delta gets covered by the plan that you as the seller choose.
They choose.
Right, they chose, not me. Okay, that's it. I have no more slides. Wow, and we have a question.
I just want to share a story about renovation and like what you offer. Because that's also like the last deal that I did. That's how we started. That's how I got the deal because I was taught it's like we can do this one. This one will be for free for you to refurbish the kitchen and change the kitchen tiles, and I will pay you for that because you're selling and buying with me. But I did an agreement with them, and down the road it came down to they want to paint it. So every single step, I will redo our agreement and include that that's how much it costs now.
Fantastic.
And then it was like bathroom renewal, then like drywall replacement, and every single step, like I had to sit down with them. I said, no, we're gonna pay. I said, no, like I wanna protect you and myself. Because at the end of the day, husband put it online that it cost them so much in rentals, like it was like 17,000 or something. And if we don't buy and sell, we have to pay her back, and that's gonna be on you. So like even in the families, they have this agreement, but they both signed. So
she amended as you were going.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, that's brilliant. Like you have to do that to that level, right? Here's the other little trick that people will try to throw your way on the selling side. I forgot to mention this earlier. I'll get you. They like the trick. They like, but Mike, I'm going to be buying with you, right?
Yes,
So reduce the commission, right? So they throw that little curveball in there, like, okay, well, I'll reduce. And sometimes they don't buy with you, and sometimes they go rent, but you've done that up front. So you kind of slide that. Oh, I appreciate that. Hey, listen, this is what I'll do. When we purchase the property, whatever rebate or whatever you're going to do, we'll do that when that property closes. But I need all of the resources financially to market your home upfront here to do that. That makes sense, doesn't it? And then when you do purchase, I'll be able to rebate whatever that number is. I'll rebate you 5,000 or out of whatever you figure out. Never, ever, ever do the reduction on the listing side, because you're going to come into my office and go, like they said they would buy and they didn't. Yeah, people change their mind for people's circumstances.
Signing BRA when you're signing a
Right, but what if they don't sign? What if they don't buy a property? Just because they sign the BRA doesn't force them to buy. Like oftentimes I've seen people move back in with their family members or something, or they go and buy, or they go and choose to rent. Right, so now instead of your $1 million purchase, they're renting for $2,000 a month, and you're getting half of it. You're getting $1,000 instead of $25,000, but you reduced your fee on the listing side. You gave it away. Okay. Yes.
Okay, now we were talking about premium and staging. What about a customer that is economy and has defects of the house?
What kind of defects?
Like you walk in, you see mold.
Okay, that's all I need.
I mean, things that have to be, I'm not talking defects as a broken window, I'm talking about some serious issues that have to be repaired before you actually sell the house.
Yeah.
Where do you go there?
Well, they have
with
to
the
take,
customer?
I'm not paying for your mold remediation.
But you tell
If you have-
them that
if you have
has to.
structural problems in your home, I'm not paying for your structural remediation. Your roof that's ready to collapse, that's completely different. If we're talking cosmetic types of things, that's more along the lines of the staging type of thing. We're going to remedy those. We have these structural issues. Those are what could be perceived to be, if I see them, they're not latent defects, they're patent defects. Does everybody know the difference?
Yeah.
There's two, right?
Yeah.
Patent defects, I can see it. There's a hole in the wall right there. I can't come back and say, there's a hole in the wall, I want you to reduce the purchase price by $5,000. No, I saw it. Now, if the hole in the wall was behind that painting, or there was a crack in the foundation was behind that painting, I can't see it. It's latent because you may have purposely concealed it, right? I don't know. Or you did conceal it, right? It's either on purpose or by accident. But again, I don't know what it is. I'm not paying for that either. Like, that's not your lack of maintenance for the last 20 years in your property is not my financial responsibility.
So you're not gonna come up and start covering these things and just so you can put the thing on sale, for sale?
What did you just say? You're gonna cover up? No. Tressa Phase 2, 11 months ago, came into full force and effect, and the responsibility of a realtor
Is yours.
and the seller to disclose latent defects that they know about. You have that equal responsibility now. It's section 22.1. Remember that section. You are responsible for sharing that information. And you can't plead ignorance on that. Okay?
So lose the sale over, I don't care.
Oh.
You believe the license in future.
Or just disclose it.
No, well, that's what I mean. Like, I would rather lose the sale than, put up with a
If you have a
customer
seller
like that.
telling you, okay, I know you saw the crack in the foundation, but I'm putting a painting or I'm putting furniture in front of that, don't say nothing. You have a ethical, legal, moral obligation to disclose that to the other party. And if your seller doesn't want you to do that, you probably should walk away. Personally, right? Because now you are part of the problem. One of my favorite lines whenever you guys come in to talk to me is, okay, you got a choice here. You want to be part of their problem or not part of the problem? I can tell you, I've been involved where you guys become part of the problem and you complain about it after and you regret doing it. You got enough problems in your life, right? Remember the garbage truck analogy? We all have garbage. We all have garbage. Do you want to take their garbage too? And where they're purposely wanting to deceive the other party? No.
I'll tell you the example later because we don't have time, but,
Was there any other questions?
But you can sell by saying as is, where is.
No, you can't.
no.
No. If you know the latent defect. So if you see evidence and signs, even though it's not purely visible, then you need to investigate further as a listing realtor. It's your responsibility to dig deeper, okay? So if you see some discoloration in the corner of the ceiling here, right? I'm not gonna say that's mold. The only way I know it's mold is how? I have to have it tested. At this stage, it's just a black substance. That's all it is. That's what the term is until it's tested. But should I look further to find out is that mold? Or did somebody take a Sharpie and color it up, right? That could be that too, right? It's your responsibility to dig deeper. You cannot plead ignorance. Buying as is, where is, there is examples of that in power sales where the lenders will be able to take cover under that. Typically in an estate sale, they'll be able to take cover in that. Why? Because they never lived there.
Yeah.
Right? But the where is as is really has no power outside of those. And always, there's a thing called caveat emptor as well, right? So buyer's beware. Right? There's a responsibility of the buyer's realtor big time in a transaction to ask those questions. Okay. But don't think by putting where is as is going to get you out of harm's way as the listing realtor.
Ignorance is no defense.
There's actually court cases on CanLI that show that saying the as is where is not going to get the seller or the listing realtor out of. So
how about a buyer does not do the home inspection?
Sure. What we're talking about is the latent defect stuff. It's things that we're aware of that you're purposely concealing because your seller told you not to. Patent defects that are visible and they choose not to have a building inspection and they come back and say, well, the hole in the wall. Yeah, but you saw the hole in the wall. You saw the tear in the carpet. You saw the brick work that was crumbling. Like these are things you saw. You cannot come back, right? Because they're patent physically there.
Maybe maybe I'll take 30 seconds and ask you this because it happened to me in my first house. If we're waiting. Okay.
Questions are fun. If people want to stay with questions, but I gotta go in about half an hour anyway. But so we'll end it. Next week, what is my class? Objection handling? Okay, so objection handling, we're gonna have some more dialogues. There's a lot of dialogue stuff. But here, the heart and soul of this course is lead generation. Is the system, right? We didn't take up anybody's numbers this week. I know you sold a couple of houses. People are doing some good work. All of this stuff that I'm teaching you, you get to hear my stories and all the knowledge we have shared collectively in the room means nothing unless you're doing your lead generation activities. So please, if you are not doing them or you're not getting the way, do those, because in 3 months, when you come into my room and say, Mike, I haven't been doing anything, I'm gonna say, what did you do yesterday, last week, last month, 3 months ago? The activities form what you need to do in the business, okay? So we'll see you next week, and looking forward to it. Have a good weekend. I had a question first.